Hello there. How are we doing, chat? Ay, ay, ay. We're back. It's been a delay. It's been a time and a half. It's been a spell, however you want to put it. Welcome to episode 11 or whatever of this Dark Souls lore play, because, oh boy, I wasn't expecting it would take this long to get here. So for those that aren't aware, between the holidays and, well, a few technical difficulties, I wasn't able to stream this until a few days later than originally planned. But it's okay. It's all working now. No problems that I can see. And you know what? As long as I don't look at them, there won't be a problem. Right, Nito? That's what he's taught me. And when is Nito ever wrong? Just don't look at your problems, Smile. Composite both large arrows, obviously for defenses from the gate. You can go pew 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 pew, shooting down people who come down the bridge. Excellent defenses. Clearly that guy, though, was having a bad day. I can only imagine. I don't know why. Again, we can see that there is this, this is what's left of the lever that would open the gates from the outside. It was removed, as you saw when we were looking here earlier. The gods have clogged up with rubble the gate that would lead to the world of man, where the dark wraiths were terrorizing human society. They also put in wyverns that they seem to have bred with the power of lightning, along with an archdragon who became a zombie over there, as we talked about before, and had them guard this valley, making sure no one is able to get close and potentially break the seal that would allow Londo to, that would allow New Londo to be free again with all the evil that it contains. Howdy! Hey, Xavier, good to see ya! Hey, Rapucha, welcome on in. Today, I think, is gonna be a good day until we get to Sif. Then all of you are gonna dislike the video, immediately unsub, leave, and be like, ah, shit! He did this boss fight! I can't help it, it's mandatory. I don't want to kill the wolf man. Wolf? Not man, just wolf? Anyway. Yeah. So last stream, again, we went through New Londo, got all the way here after beating Ornstein and Smo, which was quite the experience. We'll talk more about Anor Londo stuff when we get back to Anor Londo. But for now, I talked about how we can see that the water here was set up by the sealers in order to deal with the chaos of that was occurring in the city at the time. The four kings fell to the dark. As a result of that, their knights were corrupted and became the Dark Race, as they're now known. They went out into the world of man with this strange power to devour life. As we will see with Kaathe when we eventually get to Kaathe, the Dark Wraiths are, they were given, the Four Kings, I should say, and the Dark Wraiths who were given by the Four Kings, by extension, were given the power of quote-unquote life drain, but the Japanese text, at least for Kaathe dialogue, says the power of life eating, to eat life, to devour life, which of course makes sense, because again, the soul is the source of life. But of course, this idea of devouring life makes you wonder, well, if you don't have this special dark hand, as we see here, it says incited by Kaathe, but the Japanese means something like, it has a connotation of being like tempted, so again, it's kind of like, it has this sort of, you know, serpent of the garden connotation, sort of Adam and Eve type of thing going there. But the idea is that, okay, so they were tempted by Kaathe, used the power of the Dark Soul to absorb humanity. An art shared by this weapon, so the idea is that they can absorb more power of dark and all that. Now, it's not just humanity. Theoretically, it could be any soul, because again, the idea of devouring life, well, the soul is the source of life itself, so it doesn't just need to be the Dark Soul. Obviously, in Dark Souls 3, when there is no humanity mechanic, that becomes relevant. And they change the attack, so that way it doesn't just do damage and stuff, and now just it doesn't do the damage plus the humanity thing, it's just the damage. There might be a healing effect too, but I can't remember if that's the case. Anyway. The point is that we have the idea that the power of the Dark Soul is being used here, that Kaathe taught them, so that way they could devour the life of the soul. But there's a question then. What happens if you want that power of that Dark Soul, but you don't have it? Rather, you don't get a Dark Hand from Kaathe or the Four Kings. What about all those regular citizens, all those normal people who you rule over, those subjects who you guide as knights the exemplars of your society. Well, as we can see down here, we talked about how these piles of corpses here that are suspiciously only piled around in this front area, again, on the highest elevation in terms of the relative city. This part of the city is higher than all the others. And yet, all these bodies here are all stuffed here in the corners for the most part. Not really all being shoved up toward the gate where you'd expect the water to all drag it there or something like that and create like a mountain pile we'd have to climb over. But no, it all stays here. And you can actually see these bodies beneath the water if you look closely, but you know, we were busy running them through away from ghosts, so didn't have time for that. We could also see, if we looked closely, that there was a skeleton pile right over there. And don't mind those three bozos, that was just me running away like a little bitch. Anyway. As you can see, there's a giant pile of skeletons and skulls and bones there, all gathered up, thrown to the side. Now, this area, with the Velka statues, with Priscilla, are the area leading to the Four Kings boss room, down deep below the city. It's connected to what we called the church with Ingward, so the idea is this is probably like a sanctum for the goddess, right? Like, given that Velka's associated with sorcery and reason and logic and, of course, all that, you can imagine that a Velka sanctum would be almost like a lab or something, which, again, would make sense why the Four Kings would move in when they have the power of dark and they're creating an abyss down there. So that's a first big lore tidbit I'll drop today. But the general idea you have here is, it's as if they took a bunch of bodies, stripped it of the flesh, and dumped the bones down here like they were leftovers. Huh. That kind of reminds us of the depths with the man-eaters, right? They took the flesh, they ate it, and then they dumped the bones down the garbage chute, as it were, right? Huh. And you know, all these bodies, they don't have the roots in the heart like we see with normal hollows. Now, obviously not every hollow has this, but every hollow corpse that we loot does. It's this generic model that's used for all of them because it's the easiest way to identify an undead. But they're not here. They used a completely blank model here for these corpse piles. Huh. It's almost as if these aren't undead. These are normal, uncursed humans brought to Lordran. So yes, the idea would be that the Dark Wraiths, when they're going out there, they're not just grabbing humanity and souls and stuff for themselves. If we look here, we get a reference to this. Yeah, here we go. No, never mind. We don't have it. Never mind. It's not what I wanted. I was hoping we could get the reference to the Holy Man, but anyway. The point is that we have now this clear indication that, so all these bodies are brought back here. We have concept art of Dark Wraiths on horses, so just to know they're not doing this on foot, probably. The idea being is that they come in here on horseback, they bring back some bodies, dump them down here, then drag them up here to this little storage shack in the back behind this large building, the largest building at the highest elevation, which gives us the idea of its importance to the culture. It's dragged in. We see all the pots here. Again, pots signify activity, movement, storage of goods, just types of that type of stuff here. So you have the idea, okay, this is a storage facility, goods are being brought in and out. We go in through the back door here, we find more of these pots in these little cubby areas doing so, and we're like, it's almost as if the bodies are ready to be dragged in and brought through this building and processed in some way. And moreover, when we go about, I think it's this level around here, there's a chest with a very large ember. Now, we got the large ember, the lesser version of this high-quality flame that can be used for smithing high-quality weapons, but instead, this fire is used for the purposes of, likely, when we see with the depths, in order to cook, to help with, give a good, nice hot flame in order to cook some good meat, some good human flesh. Mmm, tasty. Those man-eating women are gonna eat good tonight with those depths residents. But, in this case, we have an even higher quality version. Huh. I wonder if it's associated with man-eating, too, given the past incident. Huh. Oh, yeah, plus there's a cut dialogue with Ingward telling us that, this is a dining hall that he's looking at. Huh. A dining hall? Well, you know, the dagger that I have, this jagged dagger, that'd be, kind of good if you wanted to ever, cut a steak or something like that with its, ribbing and all that. Huh. It's almost as if this could be used as sort of an eating utensil. And you know what? The Japanese term means edged tool, but that can translate less literally in the terms of meaning cutlery, in terms of kitchen supplies and things like that. Huh. So yeah, taking it all together, there's the idea that New Londo had a huge eating culture. Hence why the babies that were being born in New Londo by the undead were having lightning power that we see the ghost women, the mothers, who are obviously not happy their children were killed with them, have lightning power they can shoot out of them. So the gods were trying to, as it were, almost try to resuppress the dark that was resurging by feeding them the power of lightning and stuff, which explains why Vamos, for example, is like, oh, you know, where's that strong fire ember that I saw in New Londo? Now, there's a question of why Vamos would be in New Londo, but we'll get to that later with Vamos. But, very interesting. A very, very thorough eating culture. But then, Kaathe introduced the Four Kings and the government to the idea of devouring life itself, not just the power of the gods. And then, as we could see, they decided they would extend that to their subjects with cannibalism. As we saw one of the, almost a crawling carrion, but bigger, with the mountain of bodies, or mountain of corpses, or as the English calls it, the massive souls, I believe it was. But the point is that it's a bunch of bodies with a very strong dark affinity, hence you have to use holy divine weapons if you want to find a specific weakness for it. Very interesting. So instead of taking the form of the ghosts, these bodies of the New Londo subjects took a different one. Very interesting. Okay, let's get to chat. I'm currently playing Blasphemous while watching. Oh, cool, Xavier. Good to know. Hey, Loki, just in time for me to do some more work. Oh, great, Arberg. I hope you got some rest. I hope it wasn't just work, 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 work. After the Elden Ring stream, I was worried, you know? Anyway. We've talked now so much about recapping New Londo. So anything else I want to talk about? Well, there's a few stuff that I didn't get to talk about with this here. Again, there's the Velka statues. We see one on the top here of the dome, and two more on either side of the entrance here. So again, gives this very clear association with Velka. Again, this combined with the fact that Ingward, the spiritual healer, as it were, and a sorcerer, who knows the secret way to the rooftop on this quote-unquote church, as we call it, tells us again it's probably, like, again, a church-equivalent building, a type of temple where the sealers lived and worked before they became the sealers. Let me do this before we get into a bit of a problem. Oh, that's exactly what I was afraid of. Oh no. Let's get the item first. Humanity! Okay, yeah. Come on, get over here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Dang, this is so awkward. That's what I was afraid of. Oh. Nope. I'll take that. I'll take that, because that's honestly not that bad anymore. Oh no, that's going to be a problem. Especially if I don't have my my buff anymore. Oh boy. Oh no, I still have it. I don't know why I wasn't able to... Oh, I probably was right behind my shields with that. Oh. There we go, more of their hands. Now again, these are hands that we cut off from physical bodies, again. So the idea of those who are cursed, having a little bit of that curse left, we just take a small part of them. And so before that curse burns out, we touch it and let the curse spread to us very briefly. It doesn't last long enough to be permanent, like, say, with these daggers, who've long been held by the ghosts. Again, these are physical daggers, again, likely used by New Londo back in life, and now their bodies use it as these forms that can go, incorporeal, as it were. They don't need to stay physical beings, though we can interfere with that curse by being cursed ourselves or using cursed weapons to, not let that incorporeality stick. Forgive me if I don't speak as much as I am much more familiar with Elden Ring than Dark Souls. That's fine, Xavier. I don't mind. Again, this has been a long lore play. If this is the first time you're tuning in for this, it's fine. We got a huge playlist or whatever. Like, it's okay if you're just listening. I got no problem with that. rare ring of sacrifice. Again, a place associated with Velka. If you recall, back in Firelink Shrine, we also found a ring of sacrifice, which again makes sense, because this is an area heavily associated with Velka, has her influence, so people would receive rings of hers that were created through sacrificial rites. Again, all of it is very sensible. Do we want to jump in here yet? No, hopefully nothing will come in. Again, we can see how the rest of the area, there's still some water left, because again, these lower reaches aren't going to be drained the same way as the ones over here. But we do get the idea that a lot of the water has in fact been lowered and spilled out. Hey, Ingward. Now, as I said before, Ingward knows a secret passage up here through the fireplace to this building. So you could just climb the ladder and get onto the rooftop. Doesn't seem like too many people would know about this, so they couldn't escape the watery destruction to the same degree. As we talked about over there, there are some hollows which are just kind of... Over there, that's the prison area. We can see that little black spot there is the cell that Rickard is locked himself in. But the idea is that this is, of course, the prison's district, as it were, section, where all the far and away from, of course, this government area, where all the prisoners would be locked up and dragged up as part of the To Firelink Shrine, which is an extension of New Londo. Hence, again, we find a ring of sacrifice there, because, again, Velka connection. Velka is the patron god of New Londo. Oh, Guts. Good to see ya. Can't wait for Abyssal Archive. Been reading the digital version. Most excellent thus far. I'm in the King of Death section. Hope you do a Bloodborne lore book someday. I gotta finish Bloodborne first, Guts, but I would love to. I just started... I don't know if you heard, but I got a PS5 recently. Like, by pure, like, happenstance. It just worked out that way when I was trying to get a new controller here. And then, as a result of getting the PS5, I bought digitally Bloodborne and Demon Souls Remake, and I've been playing Bloodborne during the days I haven't been streaming. So, like, yeah, I'm super looking forward. I already got to improve my analyses for the website. My website analyses, now that I have proper screenshots and I'm able to look at smaller details and stuff properly, I'm able to see things and make connections I wasn't able to before, and I can really now go to town on that stuff and really, like, refine some arguments, do a little few tweaks here and there. Like, most of the stuff is good. It's just, like, there's some stuff where I'm like, ooh, I could add that, or, you know, ooh, now that connection, like, makes even more sense there, and I can slightly revise things so that way it flows better. Like, just so much good stuff I can do. Also, are you familiar with Berserk? It's uncanny how much the Soulsborne series is influenced by it. Yeah, there's a lot of external sources that have influenced Miyazaki and FromSoft games, so this is true for any media, honestly, but it's much more obvious in the way that FromSoft handles things. They're just very meta in general, even with their own games, right? Like how many Demon Souls references are packed into Dark Souls alone, right? But the point is that all of this is something where it's like, I am familiar with Berserk, though I haven't read it to completion or caught up or anything like that. And yeah, you could definitely see the influences. Just look at any comparison, like Berserk, Dark Souls, and like you could definitely see in the designs and stuff and what they were looking at, which makes sense given the generation of devs. I think it's safe to drop down here, but you know what? Be bold, Loki. Be bold. Anyone? Just to be safe. That's what I was afraid of. Oh, right! She can go through walls too. Uh-huh. There we go. Oh. Again, she's using the physical corpse of her baby. Well, no more. As made clear with her kitchen knife that she uses. Nice old cutter. Soul of a proud knight. Again, we see a lot of evidence of knight souls being found around here, giving us the idea that not every New Londo knight was on the same page. It looks like there might have been some civil infighting among the knights during the time, which gave the sealers the opportunity to establish the seal. It's like, hey, they're busy fighting amongst themselves. While we have the chance, let's do something a little crazy, a little desperate, and we'll sacrifice a lot of innocent lives. But if we conceal the Dark Wraiths for good, and let it so that way they never again threaten the world of man, that'd be the best. So we're gonna stop this abyss right here and now. And that seems to have been their thinking. Notice the bones here, again, much like the bones we saw over there. The idea of it being used and then dumped over there. Wait, there you are. Oh god, I hope there's yeah, there's some I see you there, Ghosty. Don't you dare. I'm busy. Anyway, as you can see, oh, I can't look down that far. Well, that sucks. As you can see, the bones being dumped or discarded to the side here. We can find these bones in this chamber, and also in the chamber one floor below, at the bottom that leads to the Four Kings. So there's the idea that, yes, it's very likely that many of the sorcerers, there may have been more than just the 3 that we know about who became sealers. Oh, what's wrong, doggy? Well, sorry, my dog seems to be a little mad. He's got something stuck under the bed, so let me grab that for him real quick. Alright, I'm back. Goodness me, that dog got his balls stuck deep under the bed. Anyway. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Sorry there. Okay. Nice. Have to jam, but we'll be watching the rest of his excellent stream later, as I've been doing with all of them thus far. That's really great, Guts. Really cool to hear from that. I hope you guys, I'm so happy you guys are enjoying Abyssal Archive. In fact, since you mention it, again, if you like what I do here, if you like what I've done on my website, if you like the lore play, please consider purchasing my book, Abyssal Archive. 2 volumes compiling the full lore for the original Dark Souls 1. The most complete, consistent, and coherent account of Dark Souls lore ever be put on the market. For that, I can guarantee. Along with commentary from the Japanese script. Being able to kind of tell you guys what did the localization get wrong, and therefore being able to make sure that you understand how Dark Souls isn't as complicated, or dare I say, convoluted, as many in the community make it out to be. So that's cool. Anyway, again, check the link in the description. It'll take you to the store page. You can buy both a physical or digital edition. As you heard from Guts, he's been enjoying reading the digital edition, so you can get that right away. That's an instant purchase right now. But if, say, you're someone who's willing to wait or doesn't think price is an issue, consider the physical edition. It's a wonderful collector's item. You'll love to have it on your shelf. I can promise you that. Like, oh boy, the publisher did such a good job with it. Either way, some great lore, great analysis, great illustrations with unique art that, let me just say, the artist went above and beyond for the pieces created for this book. I'm serious. I'm absolutely floored. So anyway, yep, just like I said, check the link in the description. Buy it now. Your support is appreciated. In fact, thank you. I should be using these more, honestly. But I don't. I can't be bothered. It's like, I could do that. Or I could just chat with you while spinning around like an idiot. I don't know, I really like spinning. That's a cool trick. Alrighty, chat. Again, we can see how there's this, secret way up. So who knows? Maybe Ingward's had a little, human in his diet once upon a time. You never know. But clearly, at some point, at least 3 of the sorcerers of New Londo, priests of Velka, you could argue in other words, in a sense, realized, hey, things have gone horribly, horribly wrong. This is not at all what we signed up for. So as soon as they saw the opportunity, they took the key, went all the way down over there to the lever, made sure everything was locked the gate, then bada bing, bada bam, let the water come in. Now, question is, where did the water come from? Well, probably from the ceiling. We obviously see how at the lower reaches, at least, a lot of roofs and stuff have collapsed and broken. So there's chances that a lot of water pressure came raining down from above. We also see that there are wells, both here at New Londo at the down there. I think it's like literally right below Ingward over here. Yeah, somewhere around there. Like there's I think there's a well like right past that corner. Can't really see it though. But yeah, so there's a well down there, but there's also one up in Firelink Shrine. So there's the idea that this cavern has a big water, some kind of water, what do you call it, aquifer, up there somewhere. So the idea that the water could have rained down here, that maybe some unseen holes or something that they could unleash, maybe in emergency cases just like this, it's possible. And it may have been only known to the sealers, who again, they are servants of the gods, ultimately. And so they would know that, okay, this is what we're supposed to do, and, you know, we can't abide by what's going on any longer. Yes? Yes.
You've broken the seal, have you? Ah.
He has reservations?
No, I have no regret.
Yeah, he's like, okay, fine.
I trust in you, but you cannot proceed without being able to traverse the abyss.
Yep.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, I'm still here.
What is it? I will help you in any way that I can.
Fun fact, this is the same VA as Andre.
Long ago, the four kings were powerful men. Only their hearts were weak. When an evil serpent dangled the art of life drain before them,
Again,
they were
life
unable
eating.
to resist and became pawns of evil.
Alright, so when he says they were powerful men, but their hearts were weak, that's the localization, 100% the localization. Ingward is not giving any, says anything nice about the four kings here. He just says the four kings were simply weak men. They were weak. You can argue whether that means that they were weak in terms of actual physical strength, considering they had a piece of a Lord Soul. Again, only so much a piece of a Lord Soul is going to get you between the four of you, especially when it's smaller than the others that Gwyn likes to give out. Anyway. Oh, hello? Hello? There we go. Controller. Thank you. But the idea being is that, Ingward here, he's just like, yeah, they were just really weak people, so when Kaathe comes around saying, like, oh, hey, I'm gonna give you the power to life eat, they were like, ooh, sure, sure, sure. So these were not moral, upstanding individuals. They were just probably your average human as far as morality goes. They weren't like these super pious individuals or super great loyalty to the gods or whatever. They were people who Gwyn, for whatever reason, singled them out and said, you know what, you seem like you'd be good at leading. Okay, I'll put 4 of you in charge. And you might be wondering, okay, well, why 4? Again, the idea with the 4 kings is they're not the 4 kings, they're the 4 official kings or public kings. The term idea of being like a public government official, right? The purpose being is that they're like a bureaucrat. They're almost like sub-kings. Like Gwyn and Londo as the vassal king, not the vassal kingdom, as sort of the hegemony of the area. They're the hegemon, I should say. They're like, okay, New Londo, you are our vassal. We're gonna install these 4 as your leader, and they're gonna basically do what we want, and they're gonna be like kind of independent, so they'll do it on their own, but with 4 of them, they'll constantly be in a deadlock, right? Because it's much more likely, rather than say 3 people, there's always gonna be a majority. With 4 people, there's a lot higher chance that things are gonna get dicey, especially if, say, there's a bunch of you there, so it's very easy for there to constantly be a bunch of bickering and infighting and debate about what should we do and how should we handle things. Again, we see this again reinforced in Ring City with the Pygmy Kings, the idea that the original Pygmy Lord, his successors, were essentially a council of kings instead. So again, we see this idea being played throughout Gwyn's history. Again, Gwyn, very clever. Throughout all of this, we see how Gwyn very much was the master of politicking, which is very important considering, you know, he's the guy who invented it. In this universe, at least.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. Anything else you can say?
Long ago.
Yeah.
Long ago.
Okay, gotcha, yeah. Nothing else. Nothing else. Alright. Back down the chimney. Right, I gotta hold this down without... So weird, some of the button presses that have changed. Okay. Again, activity, movement, giving the indication that stuff was happening by this entrance area. As we can see, this may have been the result. We don't find these bones anywhere else except in the areas I had mentioned before, so just keep that in mind again on why I'm pointing out these details when you could just say, oh, you know, Loki, maybe it's just, you know, more people died or whatever. It's like, no. Now, you may have also noticed we got some rings related to Kareem. Again, I talked about how we got the Kareem, the red tearstone ring from atop where the, here we go. From where the lever for the outside of the gate was. So there seems to be the idea that a Kareem knight was attempting to enter inside New Londo. Well, when he got up to the lever, he's like, oh, it's missing. Well, how are we supposed to get inside? Well, as we know, there's two entrances. There's one further down the valley, over on the left there. Soul of Lame the Soldier. And there's also the one that's from Firelink Shrine. Now, the one in Firelink Shrine is already open, but we need the key from Blighttown to open the other one. Presumably, Yolva gave it to the citizens of Blighttown after she left the city and joined with the diseased village to help, you know, cure their illnesses. So, we should be safe here. Who opened the other gate? In fact, I say that especially because content shows there were plans for that gate to be locked. At one point, they were at least considering it. It has its own description and everything. But it looks like they said, huh, nah, we're gonna have it where, you know, it's unlocked. That gate's not gonna be locked the way the others. And we know it had to have been locked, because as we talked about before, there are hollows in the prison section, just loitering around. These hollows, presumably, were some of the citizens of New Londo who, trying to escape the flooding, fled to higher ground, naturally, so they climbed up the staircase, which has since collapsed, up to the prison level, and now they are no more. Now, I don't know if Ingward is responsible for the renovations with the wood stuff for where the flooding was. As you can see, this is clearly makeshift. It's all added after the fact. This was just a tower, but then they kind of built something to connect it, so that way you could get to Ingward's place. And obviously, the blue magic flames also gives it away that, okay, probably the work of a sorcerer. So, yeah. Seems like Ingward was setting things up so that way he could have the occasional visitor in case they wanted their curse cleaned or something. I'm sure the guy gets lonely up there, especially when his other two buddies abandoned him and left. But these people in New Londo, they didn't have that luxury. They were just trapped. And they ended up hollowing, losing heart, going into despair. No hope in order to actually escape this terrible fate. Why would that be if the gate upstairs was unlocked so they could just use the lift? Again, if the gate was locked at the time, that would, again, explain all of that. At which point the question is, who unlocked it? Well, we find more Kareem items, such as, like we found down there. The, Kareem, there we go. Oh yeah, it still rings. Whereas for curses... the Curse Bite ring. Again, a ring that was made by... it says Sir Arstor here, but the Japanese, again, use the term Lord Arstor, or Alstor, I should say, but anyway, point is Arstor, or, refers to him as, in other cases, the Earl Arstor, or I guess you could also translate as Count, but you get the point. Anyway, the idea is that there's this Lord of Kareem named Arstor, and we've seen him associated with stuff like, say, Lautrec's, Chotels, and a bunch of other nasty, items and weaponry and the like. Huh, that's strange. Lots of Kareem stuff being found above the waterline, so again, it's not like this is from New Londo residents in Kareem. And it's associated with Arstor, who by all accounts seems to be a current figure. Again, he's someone who lives presently. He's a currently alive guy, so he's currently the thing that people blame Kareem's gloomliness on. Then, obviously, when we get to Dark Souls 3, he's long dead, and he's become a historical figure where he's now referred to as basically Arstor the Impaler, in reference to, of course, Vlad the Impaler. But again, this is not a Dark Souls 3 lore play, as I keep saying. So I say all of this in order to basically, essentially insinuate that, Arstor likely sent a cadre of, Kareem Knights, or a party of some sort, in order to try to go into New Londo. Well, that's weird. Very strange. But, you know, maybe not that strange. We do see that Velka has a close association with Kareem. She's very likely in Kareem, in fact. I mean, just think about it. You have you have Oswald, the priest of Velka, who comes from Kareem. You have, of course, all the various other dark and unsavory items between our store and otherwise that would give you this association with Kareem and Velka. Again, both people with very darker habits, as it were. Oh. So you almost get the idea that Velka here may be having quite the influence on the gloomy nation. Maybe even the reason it's become so gloomy between our store and other things. Now, obviously, Dark Souls 3 reinforces this, but the suffice to say, our store might have motivation to be like, hey, you know, my goddess has had a presence here. Maybe I want to investigate. Or is he interested in the dark itself of the abyss and the Four Kings? Well, whatever the case, it's clear that the party that was trying to get in through the front door and then later the back door ultimately didn't survive, as we find them all as corpses, and obviously Four Kings and Dark Race were sealed up until, you know, we freed them. So, clearly, things weren't going so well, if that was the case. That was the plan. I think... Do I want to go back to Firelink? Yeah, there's the well. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna use, I don't want to risk anything with these souls, so we're gonna just pop this. The Sealers seem to have a outfit that is a cross between a Plague Doctor and a Cultist. Makes you wonder why he hasn't gone hollow just standing down there alone. Because he has a purpose, right? And that's the point. In order to not lose heart and succumb to despair, undead need a mission, as it were. They need a something with which to cling to give their life a purpose moving forward, right? And that's why every undead in this game has a mission of some sort. Lautrec has a mission. Griggs has a mission. The clergy of the Way of White, they have a mission. All of them have a mission which gives their life meaning, with which they don't want to let go, like, say, the Crestfallen Warrior who's given up. He doesn't care for the undead mission anymore because he's too afraid of dying. And that fear, that cowardice, is what led to him ultimately hollowing. But, Ingward, like you said, Plague Doctor, cultist type of look. Again, you see the sun and moon imagery on his jewelry. Again, very much like Velka, someone who is a very much well-rounded god. She doesn't just stick to the holy element like the other medials of Anor Londo. She very much, especially her primary element she likes to dabble in seems to be the dark. Rather atypical for a medial of Anor Londo, for sure. Definitely one of the gods that deserves her her notion as a heretical witch. Hey, Henny Bray, good to see ya. Hi, it's been a while. How's the Four Kings Abyss older than the Manus Abyss? If Ingward knows that Artorias traversed the Abyss but believes he's still alive. Okay, so let me break that down. How is the Four Kings Abyss older than the Manus Abyss? Well, first off is just the fact that, yeah, it's the events of the Four Kings take place before that. Four Kings in New Londo exist when Gwyn gives them their Lord Soul, and again, Gwyn links the fire about 1,000 years ago, So yeah, that tells you there on when New Londo already exists. But in terms of the Abyss itself, again, Artorias, Ingward, is someone who's been stuck down in the ruins of New Londo ever since the seal was put in place, right? So he's like, oh god, Four Kings, they have an Abyss, they're terrible, blah blah blah, cannibalism, yada yada. Okay, we're gonna seal them away. They've been in contact with Anor Londo, clearly, right? Like, Ingward will actually reference talking to Frampt if you've talked to Frampt. Otherwise, he obviously sees the Lord Vessel and he knows what he's supposed to do for this current undead mission, which is, okay, I free you and I let you so you can challenge the Four Kings and get rid of them as per your mission, okay? Right? Like, I can trust you with this. You'll handle this. The Dark Race I won't be doing this and let the Dark Race go free and let all my countrymen die for nothing. So he's been stuck there, but he does know, and he says this himself, I don't know much about it. So this is, again, he's someone who is a first-hand witness to the events of New Londo, but he doesn't know much about Artorias' legend other than the fact that allegedly Artorias walked an abyss, or traversed the abyss, an abyss once, and hunted Dark Wraiths. Now we know that Artorias became a Dark Wraith hunter, right? Which makes sense, right? Again, Dark Wraiths are going in and out of New Londo, bringing back bodies and souls and all that stuff. But when they're going out there, some of them are obviously going to be away from home when the new Londo is being sealed and flooded, right? So they lose their home base. Most of the Dark Race gets sealed away, along with the Four Kings. But some of them are obviously going to be stragglers out there. See Kirk, for example. Kirk was a Dark Wraith. He's a very unique among the Dark Race, but he's still a Dark Wraith who essentially has switched allegiances to the Chaos Covenant. But the idea is that, okay, so examples like Kirk being stragglers. Dark Souls 3 gives us this again with some of those Dark Race that we see. Now they're allied with Rosaria, but the idea being they are, again, people who were kind of out and about without a country or a home of their own. They were kind of just left stragglers since their nation was destroyed. The idea there is, of course, okay, well, what are you going to do with all these leftovers? Okay, Artorias, we're going to assign you the mission of hunting these Dark Race. You're one of our strongest knights. You are someone that can definitely handle this, and you have some connections, so that way you can get yourself cursed in a way, so you have this ring that can let you walk abysses no problem. So if we ever deal with an abyss like the Four Kings, you'll be able to walk it without any issues. Now, obviously, per the DLC, this doesn't actually come into play whatsoever, so it only ever comes into play with the Four Kings Abyss, but obviously the idea is, if Manus wasn't, cuckoo, crazy, and was just, acting like a wild animal, that ring might have actually factored into Artorias abyss walking there. But anyway, the point is, the abyss that Artorias walks has to be a separate abyss that Ingward is referring to, because again, he's someone who isn't familiar with the legend. He's someone who only gets to hear this stuff second-hand, third-hand accounts from people. Either he hears stuff from Anor Londo down the grapevine, but again, they seem to only tell him stuff that's relevant to the missions and things. Like, okay, this is what you got to do here, buddy. Keep up to your duty. Or it's stuff that people who would come visit him occasionally, as he says, it's been a while since he's had visitors, but he still does get the occasional visitor. Again, Crestfallen Warrior references this because apparently there's a rumor going around about how he exists, he's down there in the ruins, and you can go to him to get your curse cured. So it's like, someone comes in to get their curse lifted, and while he's busy, lifting the curse, they might tell him some stories about, there's this great knight Artorias, and he's hunting the Dark Race. I heard so much about lived here and stuff. And Ingward's obviously loves to talk about the Dark Race and how you have to keep him sealed away. So obviously that's going to get around. So point is that it makes a lot of sense how Ingward seems to know at least enough about it. But Ingward thinks that Artorias is alive. He thinks you can go find Artorias and borrow his power directly. It's like, oh, well, he clearly didn't hear the important part, where Artorias has actually turned out to be dead. So yeah, he did, quote-unquote, succeed in dealing with the Abyss and hunting the Dark Race, who totally perpetrated that Abyss, because, the gods would never lie about that. They would never use the Dark Race as easy scapegoats in order to hide a darker truth which might be inconvenient for their narrative. No, sirree. I'm sure the DLC will never reveal anything like that. But anyway, and the point there is that, aside from the detail about the Dark Race, everything Ingward says is seemingly accurate to what we know about the legend, besides, obviously, the fact that, Artorias turns out to be dead. And so when we have to go looking for him, as we learn from Andre, we have to go find his grave. So yeah, that's how we get it. That, plus the fact that the events of New Londo seem to take place, again, very long ago, about 1,000 years ago, probably shortly after Gwyn links the fire, in all likelihood. Obviously, that's when Kaathe is going to strike. He's going to be like, okay, Gwyn's out of the picture. Now's the time to corrupt his little system he's got going on here. And then, what's it called? Yeah, and then Ulasil, the events in Ulasil in the DLC, they take place about 200 to 300 years ago, right? As Dusk will say when we finish the DLC and stuff, the events of Ulasil take place, quote-unquote, hundreds of years ago, though the localization uses the term many hundreds. The Japanese is much vaguer in that regard. And outside sources from Miyazaki and the producer have, on the most part, they've been a little inconsistent with this regard, but it's hard to tell how much of that is the translation, how much is them misspeaking or something like that. But most of the time, when they're asked about when the DLC takes place, they say it takes place about 200 to 300 years ago. Probably closer to the 200 mark than 300 mark, given the knowledge about pyromancers, because again, Quelana talks about how Solomon comes to her over 200 years ago, and then he learns from her, then goes back in the world of man, establishes the pyromancy and Great Swamp culture and all that. So pyromancers have to be kind of somewhat of established entity, because obviously we find a pyromancer in Ulasil, which we'll talk about more when we get to the DLC. Anyway, that's a huge long tirade just to say that, yeah, that's how we know and understand that the events of Ulasil's Abyss and the events of New Londo's Abyss are completely separate. These are two different abysses. You will often see map data come up. I will talk about that more when we get to the DLC and things like that, but no, These are not the same abyss. These are two different abysses that exist on two sides of the valley. Two completely different sides of this valley here. So the New Londo abyss down, well, more like over there. As far as, actually closer to there because of where the gate is. And then on the other side of the valley over there is where, Manus was going wacko. It would be interesting if the long staff they have is linked to the mechanism to flood New Londo. Some irrigation techniques involve using long poles to open small dams. That could be interesting, Arberg. Maybe all four of them need to pull the hatch to start the flooding. Yeah, it's hard to say because, again, we don't get to see the mechanism for the flooding. If I had to guess, I'm probably assuming because the flooding thing was probably a later writing concept, and so they didn't have time to add it all, right? That'd be my assumption. So, like, it's kind of just like, okay, we'll just talk about it in dialogue, and then you can kind of infer. But as we can see here, there is a well here. So the idea that there was water up above, that they could have rained down and kind of, like, crash into the city below, is definitely believable. And then you got, like, Ingward and company who are just like, okay, we'll go on the roof that doesn't get any of this, on the higher elevation, up through the secret passageway, and we'll be safe. And then we just gotta wait for the gods to come find us and tell us what we gotta do from here. And it's like, okay, we'll atone. Now they wear their masks, which again, like was said earlier, looks like a plague doctor mask, i.e. a bird mask, because again, Velka, crows, strong association there. So the idea is that they wear these masks in order to represent their atonement now, and that they continue to, they could basically continue to wear everything because it's like, hey, we have to make up for sacrificing so many innocent lives that were, maybe some of them were bad apples, you know, they were aligned with the Four Kings, but obviously not all of them. Some of them were just innocents who were caught up in the tyranny of their new administration, as it were. And they ended up suffering for it. So, like, hey, let's just kind of stick around, do this job forever. Now, two of them got tired. Yolva was like, nah, man, I feel like I'm useless. We're not really doing anything. Nothing happens here. We're just sitting around doing nothing. And the other one seems to have gone up to go research Sif and stuff with Lautrec and all that. So that's not too surprising. Thank you. Maybe all four of them need to... Okay, so, pointing out the well and raining water. Imagine it was just, those four guys running as quick as possible with buckets. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Just gotta keep going. Man, that must have been a very long civil conflict among the knights. Like, they're busy fighting and they're not noticing the sealers, like, pouring the water. Oh, no. That's a lot of humanity. Oh, that's a pendant. Huh. Someone killed Rhea. Oh, no. Oh, well, she didn't get kidnapped by one of Cease Evangelists, so, you know, it didn't become a hollow. Maybe it's the best fate. But, huh. Someone got rid of Rhea for good. Now, the pendant, again, reminds her likely of her father and her family. The idea being is that she has a lot of filial piety. Trying to be a good noble's daughter. Make sure that Daddy Dearest will be happy when she returns home after totally succeeding on this church mission. Petrus, do you know anything about Rhea being dead? You were being mighty sus before all this.
Oh, hello. Miracles, I pre...
Uh-huh. No. Hmm.
Oh, miracles.
Hmm. Well, Petrus.
Come again. The effectiveness...
Yeah. Well, Petrus.
What is it, fool? Driven to madness by emotion?
Reckless, foolish emotion.
You'll make a fine hollow. You can waltz in the infernal depths together.
So again, the idea is that Petrus is all but admitting here that he is responsible for killing Rhea. The idea being is like, oh, we're driven by emotion. Like, it's like we realize that he's to blame, and so we're attacking him in this desire for revenge for the awful thing he's done to poor innocent Rhea. Ooh. And he's like, how could you? Well, fine, you can all, like, be hollows together. Enjoy your eternal torment. Now, again, no, Petrus doesn't have any strong miracles, despite the fact that he's a high-ranking priest of, Thorland. His faith is not that high. We can thus understand that, therefore, Petrus is not a good, man of God. He's very much selfish and self-serving, which again makes sense with all the chests that we found back there, with stuff presumably owned by him, with rather dark things. If you talk to Oswald the Pardoner, he'll also talk about, if we're familiar with Petrus, and how if we're like going to like get ourselves like, you know, fixed for our sins or whatever, and how basically we'd be birds of a pair, as it were. Whoopsie. In short, Petrus is definitely a sinner who's requested forgiveness quite a few times.
What did I do wrong?
Now again, even to the very end, Petrus doesn't think he's the bad guy. It's society who's wrong. Because again, this is all done because he's afraid of going back to Thorland, but Rhea comes back also and reveals that he abandoned her, which will get him in a whole lot of trouble with Rhea's dad and other high-ranking people in the church, right, who he likely has influence over. So it's like, It seems that the noble gains, the subterfuge, and all the politicking put Petrus on the spot. And so from his perspective, what did he do wrong? He's just trying to save his own ass, you know? Because what is he supposed to do in this awful, terrible world where he could get screwed over just because, you know, circumstances of his birth made it where he had to protect this pathetic, naive, useless lady. She's never had to work hard and climb up to the top like Petrus has. He had to work his way as a knight, even though, of course, he come from a long, prestigious family of knights, so he likely also had a head start. But again, nobles. Nobles being nobles. Again, we see he has the ivory talisman of Rhea's. He took that from her. So again, confirms, yep, he's definitely the murderer. So again, reminder of her remind her of home and how she wants to come back there someday. And yeah, it should be under here. Again, only female clerics receive this, so clergy women. The idea being is that these ivory talismans. You okay there, doggy? Also, I'm gonna ask guys on the side, is the game volume too quiet, too loud? Just want to kind of know, just for reference. Okay, he seems to be okay. Anyway, as I was saying, the ivory talisman, if you notice closely, the color and designs used on it are actually the same as Guinevere. This will be relevant in the near future, so just keep that in mind. That, and you actually see this in concept art, where they literally reference Guinevere's concept art and designs when working on the ivory talisman and stuff. So yeah, it's all intentional. Loki acting like he didn't know what he did. Oh, there's a lot of humanity here. Wonder where that came from. It seems fine to me. All good on my end. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I was editing the stream for the Ash Lake stream that we did, and it was like, oh boy. I felt the volume was a little too low. I think it definitely could have been a little higher, but I understand why I had to put it that low, just because that music there, that can get so loud. I couldn't hear myself over how much it was blaring in my ears, so I can only imagine what it was like for you guys. But yeah, I think I might have overdid it a little. Alrighty. Again, we're now at the old church. This old church before the new church for the undead parish was built. Again, events of Ulasil take place about 200 to 300 years ago. The undead parish with the undead burg and thus the current undead mission was established in the period after that, so about 200 to 100 years ago, with the first activity we see with the undead burg starting about 100 years ago, right? So the idea is that the gods created a new city to replace Ulasil after replacing New Londo. And this current mission was like, okay, we have this church here, we're going to build this new church over here that's going to serve a similar purpose where it will connect directly to Sen's fortress, so anyone who comes for the mission will just come up here and then they can be filtered straight to the old fortress. The old castle. Good old Sen. Hey, Night Scout. I find it funny that both Petrus and Rhea are pretty feeble. She can teach Wrath of the Gods but not use it, and Petrus is weak across the board for a knight. Kind of interesting that the talismans look like effigy, which later used in Dark Souls 2, like the one you pick up in the same dress colors as who owned it. Thorland is quite lacking in that regard. I'm not sure what, in which regard you mean there. If you talk about, oh, you mean and Petrus is weak across the board for a knight. Oh, I think you just mean like the general characters then. Hello.
Well, I'll be. That's a brilliant.
Yep, it's the new Londo Ember, buddy.
There. For all my years in the trade, that might be the finest. How's about
You like it, buddy?
No, just leave the rest to me.
Good, because I'm never gonna make something with it.
Restaura gets the job done. You shall see.
Yeah, okay.
Oh yes.
There we go, finally.
Another thing about the Darkroot Garden.
Uh-huh.
It is said to house the grave of Sir Artorius, the Abyss Walker.
Woo!
Only of those who ventured into the forest, none has returned.
The general characters are noble with no fighting tea whatsoever, and a hardworking knight who can only beat up that harmless noble. Not true, because we do get Vince and Nico, who are both high-ranking knights, and at least in the case of Nico, was honored with the cleric axe and stuff. And Vince and Nico seem to not be of any similar status to Rhea, right? Like, Petrus, of course, makes a point about the schoolyard chums, so they're definitely not someone that says, they're definitely not someone who's like, oh, these are as important VIPs as Rhea. No. So, like, at least Nico seems to be someone who's definitely earned his stripes, as it were. Though, hey, he still couldn't beat Nito's skeleton, so... Again, gameplay versus lore.
Oh yes.
Yeah, yep, okay. So the idea being is, of course,
We'll be seeing.
there are those band of thieves who, kill anyone who tries to approach the graves. Now we finally join that covenant, chat. Compare that to Leroy from a prior age. Well, Leroy's not really a comparison. Leroy is supposed to be like, we're sending the best of the best, and he happened to turn undead. We'll talk more about Leroy, obviously, when we get to Tomb of the Giants again, because I couldn't get him to invade me before we placed the Lord Vessel. That sucks so much. I hate that. I'm still mad about that, chat. All that effort for nothing. Yeah, we'll level up at that. Actually, I don't think I can level up yet. I still need more, so... Now, again, I talked about this when we were in Londo. My guess is the concept art we see on the wall of the Firstborn's room is supposed to be this fort. Again, with a similar long bridge and things like that to a ruined squarish building. I think that was supposed to be the idea here. So, like, you have the church there, you have this fort here. Obviously, this was in the area where the Ulasil city would be in the DLC or whatever, so the idea being is, like, this is what's left of the city after everything's said and done. Oh. Oh. Ah, dang it. There we go. I definitely think that that's probably the art, but again, I couldn't mention an Abyssal Archive because no way to be absolutely sure, and it wasn't that important that I had to bring it up. But for this, I will illustrate it for you. It's at least something worth considering. Now we shall go this way. Still need a little bit more. Okay, guys, time to do a little farming, which is good because I want to talk about things. Now, a huge question is, where did Guinevere go? After the... Oops. When she decides to leave with the other gods, we know that many of the gods seem to have gone to Thorland or related places. Obviously, Fina's been to Kareem. Velka seems to be in Kareem as well. It's so nice being able to do this to these guys. No, Mr. Thief from the Undead Bird. Go away. Go away! Go away! Away! Oh. No! Would it be a Loki stream if I didn't fall to myself, fall to my death? Vince and Nico aren't trash, but they still aren't all that good. Again, relatively speaking, probably to Leroy, maybe not. But again, they're obviously not, like, pushovers either. The main Thorland characters stand out, represent the top at least, are quite lacking. Definitely for the group, though, but again, that's sort of the point. There's not as, again, anyone's being thrown at the problem in the modern era compared to, obviously, with Leroy, where it's like, okay, our first undead, he's one of the best of the best, we'll furnish him, make sure he has the best treasures and everything. I'm sure he'll be able to get this done, and then he failed, and then other efforts failed, and eventually it just became a formality. Thank you. Oh, this is not the plan. We also remove this. There we go. There we go. I think it was the bleed on the end there, right? Or maybe not. I didn't see any blood. There we go. So there goes a Vinheim sorcerer. He's part of the Band of Thieves. We talked about Ferris. We talked about Americus. There you are. Oh, come on. not wipes. Go away, Mr. Priest. We'll talk about you in a second. Oh. There we go. You're dead. Yes, yes. Now notice, this guy here uses Guinevere's miracles, though. The miracle that were supposed to be exclusive to her Princess's Guard. This is a cleric of the Way of White, as we can see from his outfit. He's one of those clerics who become disaffected with the faith, as it's taught in Thorland, and so instead decides he's going to go out in these traveling clothes in order to experience firsthand the spirituality, the truth of his religion. But here, he's using a Guinevere miracle. And again, we have his armor set here. Kind of get to that point, the idea that, hey, Way of White's got its own little self-purification type of thing to help you kind of go on a little journey of self-discovery, as it were. What you can't learn in a church, you'll find out in the world. Alright, so Guinevere's miracles being taught to a priest from Thorland. Okay. Well, maybe it's just nothing there. Oh, wait a second. Oh, well, I'm gonna die to big mountain bandit boy. Get back here, you. There we go. Well, that's not the only odd thing. Again, we talked about the, we didn't get to talk about this in full, but there were the coins, the gold and silver coins trapped in a mimic, giving us the idea that someone in the royal manor, one of the royals, was interested in the world of man, specifically the currency. Now, this was during about 100 years ago, but rather between 200 and 100 years ago, right? So around the time that the silver coins were being minted with Night King Rendell's image, during that period before obviously Rendell turned undead, and he and other heroes of that era, like Logan, etc., start going to the Undead Burg, and then ultimately Sen's Fortress and all that, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so during that period, someone at the Royal Manor was collecting coins and being like, I'm interested in human currency, the stuff that humans deal with, because again, souls are the currency in Lordran, even for the gods, as we show with the giant blacksmith. Well, that's a little odd. And then hide it in Mimic? You don't want anyone else in the Royal Manor to figure out that you are interested in this? It's almost as if someone's planning to go to the world of man, but they don't want people to know that they're going to the world of man. Well, we know of one god of the royalty who certainly didn't want that. Left there, got married to Flan, and sort of disappeared. Oh. So that, plus the miracle we see there, and some other stuff we'll see in the future, gives us the indication, like we see with Rhea and the general female clergy gear, a lot of influence from Guinevere. A lot of Guinevere's miracles also work with Lloyd's miracle synergy mechanic. So all of that seems to tell us, oh, it looks like it wasn't just Lloyd who was a huge influence on the Way of White, it was also Guinevere. There's, again, the Guinevere miracle. I can't remember if it's soothing or bountiful, because I never use those miracles. Okay, fine, I guess we're gonna do this the old-fashioned way. Yeah, keep healing. Come on. There we go. Oh. Get wrecked, idiot. Okay. So there's this seeming indication that Lloyd and Guinevere have very close connections working together in the Way of White. That, plus the fact that her divine blessings are still apparently being handed out, as shown by Rhea, etc. And then we also have, of course, the priest who knows her miracles. Seems to suggest that Guinevere is hiding under the auspices of Lloyd, with her new hubby, Flan. Now, Dark Souls 3 sort of reinforces this. Once Lloyd's out of the picture, Guinevere returns to the fold, as it were, and returns to her duties, along with quite a few new members of the family. But just a little interesting detail on knowing, oh, okay, so she's over there with the other gods over in Thorland. Cool to know. The Soul Londo, the new Anor Londo, almost, that you could say. Anyway, as we can see, this kit. Who's Americus? JP only text. Americus with an A. But yes, it's a character who's only ever named in the JP version. It's one of the female knights who you can encounter here in the forest. No, Heidi's Tower of Flame has nothing to do with Guinevere. Like, that's a completely separate thing related to Anor Londo and the Drift and stuff related to Dark Souls 2 and, well, 3 too, because Drift obviously becomes all about Dark Souls 3. But yeah, no, that has nothing to do with, has nothing to do there. Like I said, the explanation this game is providing is, okay, she's over in Thorland, which again makes sense with what Dark Souls 3 gives us, and Dark Souls 2 with, Haida is, that has to do with what's left of Anor Londo transferring over, well, not what's left of Anor Londo, but piece of Anor Londo transferring over to the quote-unquote new world, the new setting that Dark Souls 2 puts separate and far away from Lordran, and then all those different lands from Dark Souls 1 sort of kind of rebuild and restructure and change over time, etc., etc. Anyway, I talked about that in my Haida, a thesis in full. Very fascinating stuff. It's just interesting how much Dark Souls 3 sort of runs with the concepts that Dark Souls 2 first invented. Vinheim, Band of Thieves, who, yeah, so, like, Vinheim, Sorcerer, a Bandit, a Priest of Thorland, Undead Berg Thief. You can see quite the variety have become part of these Band of Thieves, ironically. What item, mentions them? The, which, Vania's gang has all sorts of stuff, Forest Hunters, Princess Guard, plus 8 Crystal Axe or something impossible, etc. I'm not sure which them you're referring to there, Night Scout. Haida's looks like an attempted second Anor Londo, hence my first playthrough impression. A world drift apart was apparent when playing for the first time. Yeah, it's definitely a second attempt at, it's not really a second attempt at Anor Londo, more like trying to rebuild Anor Londo. Again, basically you have to think of, as Dark Souls 3 also shows in, there's the parts of Anor Londo with Gwyndolin got left behind. The parts of Anor Londo with a bunch of other human, undead, non-gods, essentially, got brought over. Even some giants, it would seem. So those two forces were essentially split apart. Now, Dark Souls 3 shows us what happens when those two worlds, as it were, the old setting in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2's new setting, I called it the old world and the new world for simplicity, and when they rejoin, something else happens. But again, this is a Dark Souls 1 lore play, so we won't focus on that. Anyway.
Is it not so that thou art new?
Oh gosh, I forgot about you.
Well to find me.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
cometh thee not for the grave of Sir Artorius? My advice true. Forget this. The legend of Artorius art none but a fabrication. Traversing the dark. 'Tis but a fairy tale. Have thine own respect. Go not yonder knocking for nothing, I say.
So many people are confused by this line and what she's saying. What she's essentially trying to get across in the Japanese text, it's much more straightforward. She doesn't have this weird, like, Shakespearean type of, like, a roundabout way of trying to say all this with her old English and all that. She just speaks in normal, plain, in fact, relatively to the point Japanese, because again, she's like a military captain, right? Like, she's got a platoon of people that she's running and managing, so, like, she's, again, all about, like, by the book to the point versus whatever this walking soliloquy is. Or sitting soliloquy, I guess. Anyway, what she's essentially asking is, hey, do you want to go for the grave of Artorius? Well, you know, don't do it. Now, she doesn't say traversing the dark 'tis but a fairy tale. She just says it's just a fairy tale, right? Like, just the idea of the legend in general. She doesn't really try to point out and say, like, oh, no, he never walked the abyss or something like that. That's not the point she's trying to make. She's trying to make that, hey, it's not quite as you think it is. The legend isn't quite the truth. So the message that she's trying to get is here, hey, if I were to say that you were to get a reward, would you consider not going to the grave? And that's basically what she's asking. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Well,
and she's surprised. She's like, oh, you actually listened to my proposal.
Nevertheless,
okay.
I feel some liking.
I like you.
I'm Alvina of the Darkroot Wood.
The Black Forest.
I command a clan of hunters, who track down defilers of the forest graves.
Yep.
What dost thou say? Wilt thou not join us? Oh, yes, I believe we would suit thee well.
Sure.
I am very glad. And now thou art one of us. Let us establish a covenant.
Gotcha. There we go.
And here taketh this ring.
Oh, Americus, you mean? Again, it's not mentioned in the JP text. It's the stuff that official guides and things that are released all the time in Japan always mention the character, much like the character Gurana or Guelana, as I localize her to.
If thou wearest that ring, it allows for thy
Again, she's an
summon.
incredibly minor character.
If mine senses reveal intruders, then I will summon thee. Fend them off, sir. I beseech only this. I shall summon others who will, by their honor, work tirelessly with thee.
Uh-huh.
Thou shalt receive great.
Well, I got no
reward.
online, so that's not happening, lady.
We shall pillage. Will be thine own.
Based on Alvina's cat sounds in the background as she speaks English, do you wonder if she's supposed to be telepathic? No, I don't think the devs, I think the devs bothered to stop her noise, her ambient noises while she was talking, that's all. Like, for example, this similar cat that we meet in Dark Souls 2 doesn't have this problem, as far as I recall.
Have no doubt.
So someone just playing the JP game would never know Americus existed. Yeah, not by name or anything like that, no. It'd be something that only official, extra material and stuff would clarify, right? Again, you could say the same thing for any enemy or character's official name, quote-unquote, like outside of bosses or something like that. You wouldn't ever see that stuff if you were just playing the game, because this game doesn't have a bestiary or anything like that. So it's like, oh, okay, when the official media stuff comes out or whatever, we finally get, like, the proper names for what these things are called or what have you. Anyway. Yep, they spawned. Good. Now, as we can see, we meet Shiva and his shadow. Hiding invisibly. As I talked about before, he actually does cast pyromancy. But then there's good old Shiva.
I've heard all about you. Let's
Oh.
teach you the clan
Wait.
basics now.
Wait. Sorry, buddy.
I've heard all about you. I'm Shiva of the East, captain of the brigade. Let's teach you the clan basics now, as there's no time to chat in the midst of fighting. Except there is little in the form of rules, you hear. Fight and hunt as you like. Whoever's fastest gets the prey. That's the way we do it. Only, don't forget what Alvina said. Traitors aren't given a second chance, for any reason. That's about it then. Don't worry. It's a good old time, isn't it? Great to have you with us. Good hunting to you.
Basically, if you get the kill, you get the spoils, loot whatever you want. Obviously, Alvina also takes some of the loot left over and sort of hands it out to people individually and things of that nature. But the point, of course, being is that our buddy Shiva here, he's captain of the quote-unquote brigade, or the combat unit. So the idea is that there's probably other units or whatever. Obviously, someone's got to be making those graves around Sif. But the essential purpose is, oh, okay, so Shiva here is in charge of basically running things in the field, as it were, compared to Alvina, who's just the overall leader of the Covenant, and there's like probably other units besides this that we could interact with, theoretically. Anyway.
Ah, did you notice that one? Sharp
Yeah, you big spy boy.
He's one of the clan from the east, like myself. Always slinking in the shadows. But he is a tough one. You will see what I mean.
Alvina's worst cat, Shalkor is better. Hey, Scanty. Got no online, so not helping here. Loki's just like, psych, runs away with the new ring. Yeah, I don't gotta do anything for you, lady.
Don't worry now. You'll be called in soon enough.
So you got this shadow from the
Hunters
east,
with
a
patience
shinobi.
Score the best kills.
Uh-huh. Anything else?
Don't worry.
Yeah. Now, we probably have to go all the way to Blighttown to hopefully get him to spawn, if I recall correctly.
Thou dost come.
How
fares ye?
Yeah, Night Scout mentions the idea. Yeah, the noises only show up when they're here.
The highest.
See, I just think that, I just think it's noise. I don't think it's trying to be telepathic.
Disproportion.
Though who knows? It could be she's using magic to translate her tongue.
Ah, thou my hopes for thee.
A little too clear, though, I feel, if it was supposed to be telepathy.
Do not such a hope shatter with foul disproportion.
Yeah, huh? Anything else you gotta say?
Ah, my...
Nope. You'll be called in soon enough, Shiva lies, as Loki gets to experience the Grave Lord waiting room. There's no online in Prepare to Die edition. Also, I couldn't choose Prepare to Die edition again today. I don't know why. Sometimes when I do these streams, they just don't let me pick that game. It's like, even YouTube forgets Prepare to Die edition exists sometimes.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Aye. So we can go all the way back to get to Shiva. But first, before that, I want to point this out because we went to Ash Lake. Also, again, Londo here. We can see the Mushroom Men are also up here. The idea being is that those in Ash Lake were dredged up. Likely for their very useful ability absorbing the power of sunlight. And producing a certain pine resin. Now we shall go this way. Oh. There's our gate. We'll see in the DLC what this replaced. We can kind of see how, even after a few hundred years, things are still in ruins. Truly, so much Lucilian culture was lost. Big river leading to the basin. Alright, well first off, let's get to that all too famous chest that the adults are guarding. Mushroom Men! Oh, Mushroom Men! I'm coming! I had to discipline a few of your kids. They were doing nothing wrong, but I still disciplined them. What are you gonna do about it? Haha. Oh no. I'm afraid of the One Punch Man! Get over here. I'm killing your kids in front of you. Could you muster a run? I'm a child murderer. What are you doing? Whatever. Hey, get out of the way, kiddo. There we go, Enchanted Ember, reminding us of, again, Lucille, using the power of flames to forge magical stuff, such as, say, the seal, with which we use the key in the church that Andre kept, in order to open the doorway to this part of the ruins. Also, of course, that magical-looking door over there. Okay, I think we got all the items I care about. There's also the other cats like Alvina there. The only thing... There's her ring, but do I want to go over that right now? Yeah, just the idea. There's Alvina. She speaks human language. And she's lived since the early Age of Fire, which, again, is, like, very curious. Oh, she's been around for a very long time. All the way back when the Age of Fire was in its infancy, as it were. And again, the beginning of the Age of Fire is a very, very, very long period, right? It goes all the way to, from when they find the Lord Souls at earliest that we can confirm, all the way to, oh, dang, I was hoping that was an item. All the way to, when the, Dragon Hunts are occurring, right? And they're being defeated, so. Very, 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 very curious. That's a very long period. A lot of events could happen during that time with which, Alvina could have been born. Anything else worth pointing out here? Oh, yes, and of course she's one of the few friends of Artorias and Sif. Those two bozos. And Orlando?
Ah, thou dost cometh. How fares ye, my hood?
Yeah. Nothing interesting. Okay, Shiva, I'm gonna hope you'll show up in Blighttown, so we're going all the way to Blighttown. Based on how much the river is much higher and stronger at the present, do you think Lucille's remains were intentionally flooded at ALA New Londo, or did it happen normally in the sinking? In the DLC, we see evidence that they were trying to build a, a dam, as it were, Night Scout. So my impression would be that there was a construction project going on. They were trying to stop and hold back the water, right? And that was not going to allow, because as we see, water does flow in from other like little tiny waterfalls in the DLC and stuff like that. But they were trying to essentially staunch the flow in order to prevent that from happening. But obviously Ulasil fell, so that construction project was left incomplete, and ultimately that dam must have broke, and that's why we see the water as it is, I think, in the present day. Based on the chest animation, you just did something else bad to kids too. Hey! 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 Don't you accuse me of things. Don't get me in trouble with Susan. I wonder if the tankiest Dark Souls 1 build can survive a punch to the NG +7 Dark Phantom Mushroom. Did you get the stone armor? I don't think I did, actually. I think I missed that. Okay, we'll get it when I'm on my way back, because if I remember correctly, it's at one of the buildings, right? So we'll just have to get it then. There we go. Those old golems. Alright, you know what? Actually, I don't even care about you. We're going straight to Blight Town. Hopefully Shiva's gonna spawn down there. He'll move. And then we'll come back. Someone stop me now if I need to beat a certain boss beforehand, if that, before he'll move. All this so I can avoid killing the doggo for as long as possible. Oh, whoopsie. So long, suckers. Back to church. I'm a reformed thief. Ignore my use of a heathen element, Andre. I am a man of God now. A truly pious individual, wanting to repent for all the evils I've done. And nothing will ever make me change my ways. Certainly not a snake revealing some unknown truth that would make me feel betrayed by those gods of whom I feel so grateful for. Truly, I'm so glad I chose to roleplay a penitent thief. Hey, buddies, top of the morning. Hey, Guinevere. Hey, Gwyn's wife, who's dead. Missing ya. Ciao! I'll be back in like an hour after climbing all the way down to... Actually, I can warp now, can't I? Yeah, I think it'd be better if I just warp to Fair Lady, don't you think? I don't have to do things manually anymore. Actually, that might even be better, because I can warp back. Ooh, no, because I have to do... If I was back there, I could warp there, but no problem. But nope. Okay, we'll do it this way. Are you going to do the DLC first to get the Sif cutscene? I can't, because I want to get Kaathe, and I can't get Kaathe until I defeat 4 kings. And I can't defeat 4 kings until I kill Sif, so no. That's never going to happen, unfortunately. We're going to just have to accept that's a impossibility. Oops, I forgot the game had warp, Loki. Yes, that's me, Scanty. Why didn't you just warp to Quaylag Domain? Yep, Scanty, you are completely right. Hey, buddy.
Oh, hello. What is it?
I'm not part of the Covenant anymore, and you're not mad. I'm happy. Yeah, we know about that. Yep. Sorry, don't got the ring. Don't got the translator ring. No! Oh, wait, no, it's this way, right? Alley-oop. Yep. Everything else, I think I've caught up. There we go. Finally heading out of here. Man, I miss a horse. I miss having Torrent. Gotta do this all old school. You know, we should probably add this while we... Yeah, there we go. Hey, Great Hollow. Hey, well! Right, I forgot. You don't load from this angle. Uh-huh. Yeah. Nothing to see here, guys. Don't worry. Dark Souls 1's interconnected world is absolutely immaculate. No problems whatsoever. Oh, I don't got my ring. This is painful. Holy fuck! You scared the shit out of me, man! Wait. You guys are supposed to leave! Ow. Shiva! Help me! I'm glad you're here, but help me! Yes, 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 I get it. You like fire. Go away! Thank you. Hey, Shiva. There you are. Oh, you got your little shadow back there. Hey, buddy. You're not as stealthy as you think you are. Oh, no. Don't you dare poison them!
Hello again. Strange to meet away from the clan and the forest. But while you are here, how about some equipment? I love collecting these things, but I can only keep so many. And you know, you are a friend. I'll sell them cheap.
Looking skyward. Yeah, we're pretty low, aren't we? Again, we can see that Shiva is a weapons collector, and he likes collecting other items. As we can see, he's already collected himself a demon machete, Uchigatana, washing pole, bunch of typical Japanese weaponry and Western weaponry. Of course, obviously has the stone greatsword from the golems in Darkroot, Demon's Great Axe. So again, he's already been collecting demon weapons from the local area, including, there it is, the spear used by the Batwing demons, complete with its lightning effect. Huh! Again, reinforcing the idea that the Batwing demons are traitors. They betrayed their own kind during the war between Anor Londo and Izalith. As a result, as we can see, their hands are still bloody to this day. And their spears have been, though they have the same style as we see with other Chaos demons, with having the using the bones of their own kin from the Batwing's side, they instead have the power of lightning infused. It's not just nothing, or as we see in some cases, well, at least talked about in passing and shown in Dark Souls 3, fire weapons or anything like that. So no fire element, just the power of lightning. They betrayed for Gwyn. Very neat. Now, unfortunately, we don't get much else with Shiva. There are allusions by Patches and Alvina to him being a secret traitor, right? Like, he's gonna do something to betray you and all that. Be careful. But unfortunately, that's all cut content. There was the idea that he would essentially have us try to, he would be looking for the Chaos Blade, and we would have to find or probably still craft the Chaos Blade in order to provide to him, at which point he would do the Satsuki thing from Demon Souls and try to kill us with the blade, or if we refuse to give it to him, he would kill us anyway to take it from us, and then we'd have to go hunt for him, and we would get an eye orb and find him in the painting world and all this stuff. It's very clearly that it was an idea that they didn't quite flesh out to the degree that they ultimately wanted, and it never went anywhere. So they end up cutting it. So there's just vague allusions. His sword, though, his shield, though, is used by... there is the idea that he probably took the shield, likely in a dishonorable way, probably possibly killing the owner and stealing it for himself. So there's the idea that he is someone who will do anything to get what he wants as far as his collection is concerned, but we don't see the full implication of that play out in the game. It's just sort of something that's kind of like left hanging. Anyway, that's it we got for Shiva, unfortunately, so let's do this. I should be able to go back to Firelink with this, so... Do you think Islith was always connected to the surface in this place, or did it only become a poisonous swamp and sewer section later? In terms of, was it always connected to the valley? Through Quaelag's domain, you mean? Probably, because we see the floor to Quaelag's domain does have a, you know, an actual formal flooring thing that creates a path leading up to, obviously, the exit there. So there probably was something or something to that effect to formally go through there, whether it's like, you know, like a cave hole or something. So yeah, that has probably always existed. The poison swamp thing, though, is recent, right? Because the cause of it becoming a poison swamp is because of the undead burg being built, again, about between the destruction of Ulasil about 200 years ago to the beginning of the undead mission about 100 years ago, so undead burgs being constructed, it creates the giant sewer system connected to the undead burg, or at least this section of the burg, and that dumps all the sewage and filth and grime and trash and all that down into the valley. Now, the valley probably always had a swamp, hence why Quaelana sticks around close to nature and all that in it, but then it becomes the poison swamp only relatively recently. So yeah, in terms of like the connection to the valley and a swampland itself, probably. Connection to the poison swamp as it exists now, no. I wonder why they cut it. It seems like they're already at the template for Lautrec, so why not copy and paste it for Shiva? That might even be the reason why. They just didn't want to do it with Lautrec. There were problems with the questline. You can come up with any number of reasons why it narratively or gameplay-wise wasn't going to work out. Also, I'm curious if you've seen King Boar Haha's data diving that implies Islith would have originally been a swamp. I'm actually familiar with that from Sandus K, who's the person I heard about it first. I don't know if Santa did it first or whatever. I know Santa did it independently, but yeah, I've known people who've been looking into it and found evidence of that before. Yeah. Oh, hey Loki. Hey Rico S. Finally, you're there. I realized something. Artorias is considered unmatched with the greatsword. Gwyn uses a greatsword too. What do you conclude? I can't remember if the Japanese use the term unmatched. I have to double check. Actually, you're right. I think if I remember right, the Japanese use a term that does mean like unmatched, peerless. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, in the case of that, yeah, he might be even stronger than Gwyn in pure swordplay. You never know. That's possible. I mean, Gwyn's got a powerful soul, but doesn't necessarily mean that his fighting technique and arm is gonna be better than everyone by default, right? Anyway, let's see. We can go back up. Yeah, nothing else we need here. We gotta keep ignoring Frampt until we can get Kaathe summoned. So. Which is a shame, because I never really got to sell too much of my stuff. But that's fine. Alright, guys, it's time to kill the doggo. Time to make everyone in chat hate me. I love Alvina's like, hey, you're not gonna go to the grave for any reason if I like give you rewards and give you excuses not to do so. Immediately goes to the grave afterwards, joining the Covenant. Yeah, sure, give me my stuff. I'm always happy for more stuff, lady. Yes. Don't forget the stone armor to check the limp animation. Ah, yes, the torture scene. Scanty, you truly are. You're crueler than me. What are we doing? We have to go right, I think, if we want to get the stone armor, right? Because we have to go to where the cats are. I think. Might be misremembering that. Either way, let's rest at the bonfire here, so... Yes, I know. Thank you. There we go. Oh, whoopsie. Gotta pop out that analog stick if I want to keep my running working. Let's see. Yes, I think we gotta go the right side if we want to get the stone armor, if I recall correctly. Or is it Alvina's tower? Maybe misremembered which tower it is. It's under the building past the Alvina Bridge. Okay, so it's past the Alvina Bridge. Yeah. The cats only guard a soul. They're useless to kill. Right, okay, gotcha. Let's see. Anything else we want? No, we don't care about that. Repair. Let's just repair anything, top everything off. Okay, we're good there. Gold coin, want to keep. Again, the gold and silver coins both being kept by, again, Guinevere in those mimic chests to hide her intentions. This also, of course, helps us date the leaving of the gods to only about 200-ish years ago, around that period, or 200 to 100 years ago, so sometime during that period, rather than say, like, oh, like before Gwyn even linked the fire, as some people posit. Also means her illusion is not that old. Now, hello. As we can see, the Forest Hunters are now friendly with us because we're part of the Covenant. Listen, guys, I'm sorry I killed you in a past life. We're cool now, right? Right, buddy? God, that blur. That depth of the field. Oh, boy. Alright, so it's over here. Yeah, I think the chest is, like, down here or something. Yeah, it's not inside, it's outside. So we go this way. This way. This way. Oh, no, it's the other direction? Oh, no, it must be the, maybe it is the other tower, and I'm not crazy. No, I am. I just went wrong angle. Okay. There we go. Stone armor. Covered in moss. Very old. Of the old night golems that used to protect Ulasil. Because, hey, when you're a peaceful nation, may as well have the golems do your security work. I mean, why are you going to train sorcerers who don't even use offensive sorcery? Just slap some miracles on those holy miracles on those stone knights, and everything's golden. Get back here, you little shit. You're almost dead. There we go. Yeah, right through the back of your skull. You don't even got a skull, you stupid plant fungi thing. Alright, anything else I want to get here from this side? I want to say no. I think that's it as far as souls and items are concerned. Yeah, I don't see anything. Alrighty, just time for doggo, time for pain. One last check. I like stamina recovery, because I already have, like, stupid levels of stamina, so I don't need Fina's ring. I just need to recover it faster. Hello? Hello, Dory. Sif's cutscene is drenched in motion blur and prepared to die edition. Oh no, El Henny don't remind me of this. Do you think the Crest of Artorias used to be a mandatory item based on Sif opening the door with the animation stuff? Possibly. It is possible that this was once at one point actually mandatory to open, but it's hard to say because really it doesn't have the same magic seal as, say, the doorway to Artorias. So I wouldn't be entirely convinced hearing that. I could totally believe that the idea is just like, oh hey, you just like lift your hand because it's got like little magic-y bits on the in-between parts, and then you doing that sort of activates the magic to unlock it or whatever. As you can see, water streaming out waterfalls on either side of these ruins here. We can, of course, see all the various graves of other people who've been buried here, warriors who've come to visit, heroes, or just other people who respect Artorias for his legend and things like that, want to pay their respects, or maybe steal from his grave and try to take some of that power for themselves. You know, the Forest Hunters don't care either way. They don't trust any of them. So, if you're not going to join the Covenant, then okay. As you can see here, there is an item we can get from a corpse, a female corpse from the back. Before the DLC, I would have confidently just said this is probably supposed to be Kyaran. Kyaran's sex is never stated in the Japanese for the ring and things of that nature, if I recall correctly. Yeah, I think it's only in the DLC that's finally clarified. But the idea that the Hornet ring is found here on this female corpse next to Artorias' grave is likely supposed to be the early hint of her having feelings for Artorias and having a close affinity with him at the very minimum, and of course being a woman. Probably have to look here if I want to find it easily. There we go. Now, as Kjaran's dagger, now the term used dagger, blade, or etc. You could translate this plural, because again, Japanese is very vague with singular or plural, so you could translate this in the plural sense instead, so it's daggers. Obviously, the DLC is what reveals that Kjaran uses multiple daggers, or blades, or swords, or however you want to describe it. And then the idea being is that Dark Souls 3, the localization updates their like obviously they change things up generally when it comes to text, but basically it's the same text in the Japanese, but the English version does change this update to the context, because that's very important with Japanese. If you don't understand the context of what's being said or something, some stuff cannot be immediately obvious. Obviously, if you've seen enough anime, you've watched enough jokes where the idea is that two characters talk about things, but they don't use the subject or they don't clarify with who they're talking about or whatever, or what they're talking about, and then the two characters end up in a comedic misunderstanding of being like, oh, okay, you're talking about this, but I'm talking about this, and they just keep on missing each other, and they get like freaked out because the other's like obviously talking about something that they think is insane, but is obviously totally mundane or normal, right? That's the type of stuff that just happens with the language, or what I should say can happen with the language. Yeah, nothing else really to say here. With the advent of the DLC and our ability to kill Kjaran herself, this of course becomes much more ambiguous. But you can imagine this Lord's Blade, someone who respects or loves Kjaran, or again, you can still say maybe it is supposed to be Kjaran in the event that we don't kill her. Anyway, let's go summon Sif Boy. Again, lots of these graves erected with the swords. We can see, of course, Artorias' sword being inserted here, except as we know, his actual sword doesn't look like this. It was corrupted by the Abyss. This is another sword, which of course Sif uses. As we see even in DLC, Sif of course has his own copy of Artorias' holy sword that he can swing around. In fact, as we find out, we'll talk about that more later though, Artorias has several swords he can make or forge. We can also of course see large weapons being laid here, besides just the smaller ones. So it seems the idea that likely when Artorias' funeral was occurring, some of the gods or whatever were leaving weapons or something in honor or memory of him, in similar vein as how the warriors' blades for humans are being left now. It's a cool little idea. Anyway. If I recall correctly, Kjaran's actually a male name, so that doesn't help matters. Yeah, it doesn't help. So Artorias knew a girl with a guy's name, and Sif might be a guy with a girl's name. Yeah, no, Sif is definitely a guy, because Sif doesn't have twin humanities, so yeah, we can definitely say Sif is definitely male. I was actually willing in Abyssal Archive to go with, oh, well, you know, maybe I'll use, say she and her with Sif, but that was like, oh, no, wait, no twin humanities, so yeah, I can say definitely male. The twin humanities, it's like checking between the legs when it comes to, is it a boy or is it a girl? The Dark Souls 1 equivalent. Hello, good old Siffy boy. I actually don't remember if Sif is weak to Heathen Element or not. Oh. Ouch. I didn't have the right thing equipped. Darn. Okay, we gotta fix that. We gotta fix that. Let us adjust. Let's adjust all of this. No. I only need my healing. Ay, ay, ay. Wasted boss fight. Now, obviously, if we do the DLC first, Sif will be able to recognize us. Obviously, the game can't detect whether we're going to retroactively do this DLC in advance, so it can't really determine that in advance and being like, okay, it's not like, say, Dark Souls 2, where Dark Souls 2, you have to do the time travel event, so the Last Giant's always going to recognize you. In this one, they kind of just make it ambiguous on whether or not Sif does or does not recognize you in the event where you do the DLC, but only after you've already killed Sif, right? But if you do happen to kill Sif first, then your playthrough, you'll see, oh, Sif does recognize you, and Sif gets kind of mopey and sad. It's like, okay, I gotta do this. This is my duty, but, like, man, I'm not gonna be happy about it, because, you know, you, like, were a real help back then. I can't believe you're turning out to apparently be an awful grave robber. Sif, you could always just talk to us. Seriously, how many troubles in Dark Souls could be fixed if the boss would just, you know, chat first? Wouldn't immediately jump to violence. I'm just saying, Sully, I know you were having a bad day. Could have really fixed that, though. Did it need to be an obnoxious boss fight? I shouldn't say that. I love the Sully boss fight. Oh boy. Sif being like, I was taught the art of my master, Artorias. Now, one thing you may have noticed in the cutscene, it's very subtle, but Sif grabs the blade and has it facing in his right direction, but then he immediately flips it around to his left, to the other way with his left. The idea, of course, being here is that this is essentially the wolf equivalent of trying to hold it in his quote-unquote left hand, his left jaw, I guess. The implication being that Artorias is, of course, left-handed, and so Sif, who inherits Artorias' fighting style and swordplay, learned how to fight that way. You can see this also in how he swings. Sif swings from left to right, which is, again, typical when you're using a left-handed swing, you know, in your left hand, compared to right to left, like most bosses. The only exception are when bosses do attacks that have some sort of charge to them, like, say, when Quelaag does her big, Fury Sword, charge-up attack, she'll use her right to, left swing to do the charge-up, and then she'll do left to, actually, I think it's, yeah, you know what I mean. So, but it's a very cool, subtle detail to tell us, oh, hey, without Dark Souls 2 eventually giving it away, that, hey, Artorias is left-handed. This will also come up again when we're doing the DLC. Sif? Sif? Sif, that's... Okay, just do that. Okay. Ah, darn it. Hitbox was too long. That's fine. I'm okay with taking that. Oh, no. That's fine. What? Okay. I completely screwed that up. Again, Night Scout, no, because things follow, again, generally along linear time on events. Again, you see this again. Like I said in Dark Souls 2, there is never a trouble with the timeline. It's always a closed time loop. In every case, you use time travel to go forward or backward. Same thing with the Other Worlds phenomenon and all that stuff. So that never comes into play, right? There's never a scenario where it's like, oh, we changed the present or the past or whatever. Because again, in a single playthrough, you're not going to be able to quote-unquote see the other event technically in that way, right? There's no way to be like, oh, I went back in time and now I can see how Sif played out differently within the same thing. Because again, that isn't how time works in Dark Souls. Now, Elizabeth is concerned about possibly us learning too much about the future or whatever, because again, the idea is that time should be basically normal, and using these large time jumps are for the best to not be abused in any way. To figure out about what's going on in the future, right? You know, like figure out your own death in advance or something like that. Kinda would suck. Would be cool that to save Sif, we would have to craft Artorias' sword instead and use it to kill the 4 kings. R.I.P. souls. Yeah, R.I.P. souls. I don't mind. It's only 9k souls. I mean, that's like, what, like 1/3 of a level up? It's not that bad. Again, I can always betray the Covenant and just farm them again. That'll be simple. Why is Sif the only boss who struggles with his moves up and getting low HP? I don't know, because Miyazaki's a sadist. And he's like, oh, the dog should be the one that suffers. So you get the idea that the dog's not a bad person, I have to guess. Because the idea is that, Sif's not a monster, right? And I think that's the idea, to get the sympathy card. That Sif's just, you know, doing his job. He's not, like, doing this, like, some malevolent purpose or some, like, oh, I'm just an animal beast, right? He's an intelligent entity. Same as the dragons, same as, basically, Alvina, same as everyone. Ouch. Don't make me. Oh. Oh, of course you jump. Can I just... Reminder! Separating the jump and the roll button was the best thing Dark Souls 3 ever did. whoopsie. I'm gonna max health just in case. Ah, darn it, never mind, that... Oh. There we go. Come on, bossy. Ah! Ah! I rolled too early! Dark Souls 2 actually separated jump from roll with the stick presses. I actually don't remember this. I thought it was Dark Souls 3, but if it's Dark Souls 2, then credit to Dark Souls 2 for something then. I recall it being on the same button, but that might just be that I haven't messed with the controls in Dark Souls 2. Will be cool that to save... yeah, we talked about that. RIP. Yeah, okay. Yeah, nothing else new. Okay, gotcha. So I just gotta make sure I keep the timing right on that spin attack, because that's what's killed me twice now. Also, that attack does lots of damage, I noticed. Holy hell. To be fair, what's my equipment level? This stuff could probably be higher. To be honest, I should have invested my souls into leveling up some of my armor. Do I have a... Oh, I don't have any large shards. Oh no. That explains a lot. Hey-o! Hey, John Kick! Yes, indeed, Dark Souls 2 did it first. Okay, then credit to Dark Souls 2. I'm sorry, Dark Souls 2. I won't let my hate boner consume me, I promise. Sif, it's time to die! I hate to do it, buddy. Just die the first time so we don't have to keep going through with this horrible torture. PETA's gonna be on my case. I was expecting I rolled into that one. Ouch. There we go. Nice, I got the bleed off that time. Oh. Sif, stop. I feel like when I dodge roll and miss, it's Wardsword. Dang it! I should have dodge rolled that. Oh, I was like, do I dodge roll that or do I just try to run for it under him? Nope, that was a dodge roll moment. Well, it says Dark Souls 2 in the title, so you're wrong. I think Sif might actually be the natural lefty, and Artorias normally did spin attacks and back jump slashes with his right hand. I mean, how are you a quote-unquote natural lefty when you're a dog, right? Like, nice guy. I don't think you thought that one through. Like, the point of Sif learning how to do a sword is it's learning something that's inherently, you know, used for people with thumbs. Hence the preference in limbs and stuff like that. But Sif's using his mouth, so I don't think he's the quote-unquote natural lefty. Again, if you may recall, Dark Souls 2 tells us outright that, yes, all the people who use the Artorias Greatsword are left-handed swordsmen. So, just take that for what you will. Dodge ran moment. Again, that wasn't me dodge running though. Like that was well, okay, yes, it was me choosing between dodge and ram, but like I should say it wasn't a dodge jump moment at least. If it was a dodge jump, I would be actually really mad about it. But at least with the way it is, it's just like, okay, I confuzzled myself and that moment hesitation got me killed. Oh my god, stop with the jumping! Also got hit by that same attack this time. Oh my god, Sif! Stop it! Sif, for my own sanity, just stop jumping like a moron. You are not a jelly bean. You are a cute little bean, but you're not a jelly bean. Go ahead. Come on, you stupid gray wolf. Dang it! I was trying to dodge roll, but the stupid thing. Wait, why aren't you... There we go. Okay, as long as I got the heal off. It didn't heal when I wanted to, but that's fine. I don't think my buttons were a problem. I think it was just me not pressing them. Alright. Dang it! Keep dodging that way too early. Let's see, what do I want to do next then? Okay, so move that attack. The running jump one I think is fine. That one's one I can, if I just remember, I gotta dodge, not try to run under him when I see it coming. So yeah, that'll work. And then I'm glad not having to worry about you bozos trying to kill me for this, at least. That's a plus. Alvin, I know I'm betraying you and all. I bet you're wondering why I keep on going this way, but don't worry, I promise everything's fine. Right. Going straight to the flank. You know what? Let's get out of this stupid ass corner. There we go. Oh my god, stop it. Stop it. Out of range. I keep doing it every time, chat. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I can tell you studied under Artorias, alright, with all the jumping and flipping around you do. You can feel it. You taught him how to fight like a wolf, huh? And he taught you how to be a dumbass with a sword. There we go. Woo! Considering I was going the wrong direction, I was worried that wasn't gonna work. Oh, wow. That dodge roll was not in time. Okay. I'll be honest, I thought I messed that up on the timing again. Okay. Sif, are you done? Are you at that point? He's starting to look a little weak, chat, but he's not limping. Gonna do that just in case. Ah, there we go, chat. He's weak. as you can see, poor old Sif, he's fighting to the last. He's got a family at home, chat. He's got a wife and kids. He's trying. He's trying so hard. Look, do we know of any other wolves in Lordran? Is Sif some special wolf, leader of a pack or something? We don't get any information on Sif in general, like if Sif was a lone wolf type of character, or before meeting Artorias, though obviously both of them were kind of that way for sure afterwards. The idea being is that, again, Alvina's one of Artorias's and Sif's very few friends, as it were. So, yeah, there's that at least. But again, Dark Souls 3 kind of retroactively tells us, oh, okay, Sif finds a family in the forest after the events of the DLC, and obviously before the events of this game. And then after he gets killed, his descendants or whatever continue on the duty or the mission, as it were. And that eventually gets us to the old Wolf of Faron and everything, who continues to carry a piece of Artorias' soul and everything that goes along with it when it comes to the Abyss Watchers and stuff like that. Oh boy. But again, you can watch my Dark Souls 3 lore play, so we can talk about all that. But to focus here on Dark Souls 1, again, we're not really given much on Sif. And again, much similar to what I've said before, Artorias' backstories, who they were, what they did. There does again seem to be the idea, though, that Artorias met Sif, likely learning how to fight like a wolf, while Sif learns to fight with a sword, like the bipedal people. And they basically became kind of like partners in crime, as it were. As we can see, the loyalty Sif has to his quote-unquote master, even in death, is quite impressive for a apprentice wolf, I don't know, squire, if you could call him that. You must master the old Yeller style. This is one of the fights where locking on is a detriment. Very true. The locking on at the beginning of that fight was not very helpful. I was like, I'll try this because I don't think it's going to be that bad. But nope, it was pain. I imagine they had to have design Sif first, then design Artorias around Sif's moveset, almost reverse engineering it. I don't know about that, but it is true that Artorias is one of the unused designs in the design works. Think about that. Artorias could have just been relegated to a design works art book. Like just a part of a collage of unused designs. He just would be there. Not a name, not an explanation, just, hey, there's corrupted Artorias there. It's funny to think about if we didn't get the DLC. Sad teary face. Okay, have I got enough dislikes for making you all watch this? Can I kill the doggo now? Have I demonstrated the lore of Sif being this poor pupper who's so desperate that even now he's still trying? Even though that's all he can really do? Come on, keep going, buddy. You can do it. Poor guy. Loki using Sif limping around as a chance to answer comments. Exactly. I mean, I'm safe. He is not a threat to me. I could just take the ring off his person or off the grave or whatever and go. But no. I'm like, you have a sword. I'm not risking it. I don't care. This is all an act, chat, clearly. He's just trying to lower my guard, lure me into a false sense of security. And then he'll strike. You're letting him suffer for a while. Listen, he made me suffer through several boss fights of him. I don't care if it's because of my stupidity. He can now suffer a little extra long this time. He could have all had this done in one boss fight if he wanted. No, make Sif suffer more by throwing dung pies. Sif doesn't want this child-murdering bandit to feed the ring to Fram for 2 souls and a Titanite shard. He knows. How did you know? Sif, who told you? Ooh. You gonna do anything? Nope, okay. Come on! Come on, boyo. Okay, that's it. Wait, we got this. Woo! The Covenant of Artorias and the Soul of Sif. And humanity, again, no twin humanity, so we can be certain that Sif is not a girl. Homeward Bone. Use the soul of Sif, who inherited the Divine Knight's sword. So again, the idea being that the Knight's holy sword, the Knight's sword play and all that, to acquire a huge amount of souls or to create a unique weapon. Again, as we see with the DLC, Sif has his own sword versus Artorias, whose actual sword was, of course, corrupted and partially destroyed by the Abyss. And Dark Souls 2 sort of carries this on by showing the destroyed, corrupted version is the one that survived through the eons. Obviously, obviously we can make the full normal sword with his soul. Now, on the topic of this soul, Artorias' grave, again, you can see a similar architectural style that we see with the Ulyssilian church and the fort and stuff like that there. Same thing with what we see with the rest of the stuff here. So again, all the idea, this was all done likely by the surviving Ulyssilians after the destruction of their country, obviously. And again, I've talked about before the idea that some of these Ulyssilians likely assimilated into the Undead Burg once that new city was established, and they became some of the more affluent residents. See the Golden Pine resin we can find in one of the houses in the Upper Burg. Anyway, 48k, hot damn. The humanities were never gifts after boss fights until several patches maybe even a year later, so that's not the best signal for Sif's gender, in my opinion. You still collect only twin humanities from female corpses, Night Scout, so yes, I would still say that's still accurate. So yes, it was still a thing in the base game when you were collecting them from corpses, and then they just added it to include bosses, so yeah, I would say it counts. Wait, Loki, the Gaping Dragon drops between humanities. The Gaping Dragon, a girl? Yes, I actually talked about that on the Gaping Dragon thing, yes. I never mentioned Abyssal Archive because it never comes up. I think I actually refer to the Gaping Dragon as it for the purposes of the book. But yeah, technically a she. Gargoyles, the jury's out, you know, statues with souls in them, and you fight two of them, so you can argue that because of their similar construct in something, the pairing thing with the two humanities works that way. And obviously 4 kings are 4 men, so they just get 4 separate humanities individually. But anyway. Suffice to say, we shall be moving on to talk about Sif and the soul. Now, Sif can, Sif's soul gives us several items we can make from it, so this is actually a good time to actually talk about soul fashioning and how that works exactly, right? So the idea is to take the, what we see with soul weapons and stuff like that is you take a base weapon, and you combine it with the power of the special soul, right? Like the soul of a particularly powerful individual or being or whatever it is, right? And then mold that in a way that reshapes the weapon and the blade itself, because again, souls are the power of disparity, so blah, 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 blah. You can basically do whatever you want with them, depending on their innate qualities. And so by that token, usually what we see is the sword represents something that the character physically experienced in their life, or it's something that's representative of the nature of their soul affinity, such as, say, Quelaag and her 2 swords. She has the Chaos Blade and the Fury Sword, one representing her demonic aspect of chaos, the other just representing the pure chaos itself. So those, that's, played. Also, Alvina doesn't care.
That my hopes for thee.
Yeah, well, doesn't care. I'm leaving, folks. Great seeing ya. There we go. The female corpses in the world can matter, but bosses aren't so clean. Quelaag is 2 beings fused together. Priscilla might have been similarly made in some Seath lab. No, oh my god, no, don't go there with... No, Priscilla is natural. She's a natural, illegitimate child between a half-dragon and medial. No, Night Scout, that's it. You're just... No, Night Scout, I've talked about it in past streams when we were talking about Big Priscilla and stuff. Oh, at least I'm gonna collect these again. So, like, no. Like, I'm not going on to a whole tirade on that. Like, that's a completely separate stream. I'll be here forever. Quelaag's 2 beings fused together. That, again, female. Generally, what we see with the females, both corpses and bosses. So again, Night Scout, you're going. You're really trying to stretch it here. Gaping Dragon could have aided ALA, the rats, etc. Again, then we don't get any twin humanities from rats, though. We only get the regular kind. Again. Okay, good. It's only here. I was about to say, like, it was like all the way back there or something. Alright, let's use it. Can I level up any weapon? No, right? Yeah, I need more Twinkling. And I've already fully upgraded Priscilla's dagger. So, yeah, we're just gonna keep on going into Dex. So I can get Priscilla's weapon, up there. And then both Dex and Dexterity, I think we're gonna alternate between. Because I'm pretty happy with Vitality. I don't think I need more Vitality. I may be wrong, but I think we're good there. Where'd your bloodstain go? Don't know where my bloodstain is. Don't care. We're offline. Does that mean all the rats are boys? Maybe. Maybe. That would be the implication. All the female rats are at home, I guess, making more rats to annoy the hell out of us. That's why there's so many of them. They breed like rabbits. I was about to say ants. Alright, guys, we are returning. Alright, back to the church. Again, you can imagine, again, becoming priests of the gods, yada yada yada. Those Ulasilians who don't want to just be, you know, lackadaisical sorcerers are being like, no, I shall serve in the priests. We can imagine. Hey, buddy.
That's an odd ember you have there.
Yeah, I got a magic ember.
I know what you're thinking, but I'm no good with those.
Right.
It won't be easy, but I'm afraid you'll have to look for someone else.
Okay, not gonna be that hard, buddy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay, we got that.
Oi, where are you off to?
I've gone crazy! I'm hollow, old man! Ha 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 ha! Gaping Dragon may have eaten more than one humanity down there. Also for, again, that wouldn't explain the pair. Because again, the pairing, again, it's a unique aspect to the twin humanities. It's not just, oh, we have two humanities. There's a sort of pairing affinity going on there, which again, connects down to women as childbirthers. Also, for Quaylag's leg thing, there's a minor precedent with the Man-Eater's mixed demon soul, in my opinion. Okay, that's not what you're thinking it is, Night Scout. It's not that it's a mixed demon soul. The term used is hybrid. So the idea is that it's a hybrid of multiple creatures together, and that term is used to describe the demon. So it's a hybrid demon, similar to what we see with some of the other stuff like that. So like, yeah, it's not about like, oh, it's like two souls, like, no. Again, we even see with the demon souls in that game, it's one soul. Kind of like in a little churning, like whirlpool almost type of thing they got going, but yeah. For themes across spiritual successors, at least. He thinks Loki forgot he could warp again. I forgot I can warp! I'm so used to running around! This warp thing, why does it exist? It exists because of the endgame areas, that's why. Whatever, I got to talk to Andre, that's what matters. It was all calculated. You guys are like making my brain go, oh no! Why don't... Anyway, before we give up this ember, let's have a look at it. Hello, Lord Vessel. There we go. And then enchanted ember, there we go. So again, looking for Vamos. Like I said before, these descriptions aren't necessarily referring to blacksmiths plural. They're just referring to the idea of, hey, find the blacksmith knowledgeable in the old ways. You know, find the blacksmith of Astora. You know, etc., etc. Find the divine blacksmith. Oh wait, wait a second. In this case, we have the idea of, oh, this ember we got is again a idea of like, okay, Ulasil's connected to magic and sorcery, and obviously we learned that specifically light sorcery, especially, that they're masters of. There we go, and now we need let's go find good old Rickert. Come on. Oh, I'm not gonna have my which ring do I? Okay, chat, I have to make a decision. Do I give up the greed for the Four Kings? I could always swap the ring back in, right? Like I beat the boss. Actually, does that work, or does the souls get added as soon as you get finish the cutscene? Oh god. I have to choose. Do I greed? Do I greed and give up stamina recovery against the Four Kings of all bosses? Well, you said maybe the golems have a twin humanity just for being two different golems fighting. Well, the thing is that they're like it's literally mass-produced statues. So I can imagine that there's a special affinity that goes on regardless of any gender going on with them, just because of, again, they are literally designed for the purpose of inserting a soul into them that they will retain and come to life for. So like I can totally imagine that, yeah, there's a unique affinity going on with them that the two of them will have their souls like attract to each other naturally after you kill the first. So yeah. Need info on the hybrid soul thing, though. Albeit, you find a corpse right... if you wanna... I think I might mention it explicitly in my Latria analysis, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Albeit, you find a corpse right afterward with two different souls stuck on it, i.e. a knight and a soldier. Yes, it does work if you swap. I use this all the time. So swap the serpent ring for the abyss ring. Okay, so it does work. The souls are added a few moments after the cutscene ends. You have like 3 or 5 seconds to swap. Okay, so if I'm quick, I can do it. So yeah, okay.
Hang on.
I was worried the cutscene would like take away my time.
A sorcery ember?
Yeah, it's not rustic.
I've never seen one like that. Not even back in Vinheim.
Yeah.
What a brilliant flame. Please, friend, let me have that. I am begging you. I am a craftsman of Vinheim.
So he's never seen something so high quality in Vinheim of this level of sorcery, which gives us the idea of how advanced of a sorcery culture Ulasil was.
Oh, really? You are wonderful.
Okay, buddy.
I will forge a ricket masterpiece just for you.
Wonderful.
A weapon to make a legend out of it.
Yep, I'm gonna be a legend. You won't die without the abyss ring. I will die without the abyss ring, right? So I'm pretty sure I have to have it equipped. You no longer need the abyss walking ring once the yeah, once they die, I don't need it. But yeah. Oh, is that what John Kick meant? Like, if I need it after yeah, you don't need it once the boss is dead, because the four kings are dead, and they're the ones that are controlling the abyss. They're like, we shall eat you. It's like, no, I have special magic ring. Equip. Again, just top everything off. I'm obviously not going to lose anything in this fight, because
Goodbye then.
degradation in this game is not bad until you get to actual enemies with degrading acid. That frickin' acid. And look at you, Islith bugs. Do you think Rickard was already locked up here before New Londo flooded, or was he tossed in afterward to help Chosen Undead? Neither, Night Scout. As he says himself, he locked himself in here by his own choice, so that way he can just kind of go hollow in isolation without hurting anybody. That's the idea with him. He just doesn't want to, he has no confidence that he's going to be able to do this whole ringing the bells mission thing that Chosen Undead are supposed to supposedly do, right? He's no hero. So he's just like, okay, I'm just going to, like, die or go hollow, and I don't want to inevitably go hollow because I'm too much of a coward to actually fight to kind of keep my sanity. So, you know, I'm just going to, like, lock myself up in that prison and kind of wait for the end to come. So when it does, at least I'm not going to be a bother to everyone else. That seems to be the general gist based on what his dialogue tells us. Yes, I know. There we go. Happy. There we go. Oh, I hate the Islith worm so much. Hello, how's everyone doing? Hey, Minty Lemon, good to see you in. So let's see. I'm still greedy, so I'm gonna keep my ring on. Oh. Hello, Doc Wraiths. Top of the morning. Now, Ingward has told me that you are so dangerous that letting you free will cause you to wreak havoc in the world again. I can't imagine why. Why would you bear a grudge after being locked up for years after terrorizing the world of man for so long? I don't see how could Ingward possibly make that connection? Clearly, he's crazy. He just doesn't understand incarceration rates in this country. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's how your AI is gonna be. It ain't a Black Knight, that's for sure. First. Again, illusory wall. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. It's so funny when they don't have actual blood. There we go. Doc of the Abyss didn't help you there, bud. Check something. Oswald apparently drops two twin humanities if killed. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, Oswald is very close to the Dark and Velka. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. Again, he's someone who literally is all about sin and encouraging sin and bad stuff happening. So yeah, I wouldn't be that surprised. Same with, like, say, Patches or something to that regard. But I don't think Patches... Actually, does Patches do so? Actually, have we even talked to Patches? I don't think I've gone to Patches' place, so we might have to do that. There we go, Titanite. So clearly seems like there was a Titanite shortage for the new Londo Knight, so they're trying to ration and hide and make sure that they keep as much of it going. Whether that's because the Titanite was used, of course, to improve their weapons, which now, if they ever had an affinity effect, they definitely don't now. Or if the idea was, hey, the Titanite chunk, or say the Titanite that we get, like the slabs or whatever we have from, like, the gods, we're not getting those anymore, and we're using it to make, I don't know, like, say the red eye orbs. Because as you may notice, the red eye orbs, though outwardly it almost looks like a flesh ball with, oh, right, there you go. Although it looks like a flesh ball on the outside, if you look inside, it almost looks like a mineral, like a solid rock. So you never know. Maybe Titanite's involved in that. Anyway. As we can see, another mountain of corpses. Right, I don't have my binoculars anymore. I'll be honest, I was expecting him to do the second slash after that. Oh, there we go. Listen, there's one guy with grudges I'm worried about. Wait your turn. Speaking of... Oh. I swear if that knocked me all the way down, I was gonna be like, no! Oh. Whoopsie, I literally jumped into the blast radius. I forget how long that goes. Okay. As we can see again, resentful, a lot more darker in nature though. Holy weapons weak to. Has all that nasty stuff that'll slow you down and crap. Go away! No. I felt like Dark Wraith armor was made of Titanite. It kind of looks the same stone and metal. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, it's possible that Dark Wraith equipment itself is made with Titanite or what have you. Though again, the idea of knights who use the dark, you know, we'll talk about that when we get to Kaathe and stuff. Probably next stream, actually. Lamau, there's a Titanite shortage in all Lordran, and getting upgrade materials in Dark Souls 1 compared to other games is so hard. Very true, Scanty. New Londo got nerfed for some reason. In the early patches, these Dark Wraiths had huge aggro range, which was awesome. They knew their city well and were ticked off. Yeah, they did a lot of changes. Again, the one that personally bugs me is the was changing the thing for the necessarily doing New Londo or doing Gargoyles first and getting Oswald unlocked in order to lift your curse, because again, for all the trouble that we had during that stream, it was a fun and rewarding experience in its own way. There we go. Grudge, are you done? Again, this is the bottom floor of the church, right directly beneath where Ingward is. Like, Ingward's standing, like, around here-ish. But as we can see, much like in the chamber above, we can see, again, more bones. Titanite chunk. Again, more of that. I want some large Titanite shards. Do you hear me? Large. I think I need that for my armor. Again, we see the statues of Velka with little kid Priscilla. Don't worry, just because Sif Daddy doesn't love you. Mommy does. Again, there's the pile of skeleton bones discarded off to the side there. Used. Had a little nibble. Into the sanctum we go. Oh boy, this is taking forever. Before I forget. Oh, it's right under each other too, so this will be really easy to switch. Just gotta go up one. Alright guys, how quickly do you think Four Kings Raffle stomped me? I'm betting like 30 seconds. Oh, I forgot to say I beat Sekiro last night. Cool, Xavier, that's cool to hear. New Londo got aggro. Okay, you guys are just talking more about it. Okay, so I think we're all set. We're all set. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think I'm missing anything, right, for this fight. It's just I gotta go in and hit him. Priscilla's dagger's gonna be useless in this fight, so we're gonna just stick to Ghostblade. Trusty Ghostblade. Alright, here goes nothing. Now, if we don't have this ring, we get consumed by the dark, fiery, almost like tendrils of the abyss who eat us all up. Because we don't have to worry about that. We gotta deal with the spawning 4 kings. Now, you can't have more than 4 kings spawn, but obviously they're probably expecting you to die before you get to that point. Oh, darn. Yeah, this is gonna be a problem. Again, notice how their legs unnaturally stretch into the dark of the abyss below. Oh god, a second one's coming. Yep, that's what I was expecting. I was like, dang it. I gotta be faster. I'm not killing the other one fast enough. So good strategy for me is to go full Havel and Storm Armor and just tank. Oh, you know what, Scanty? You're probably... Oh, wow, I didn't rest at Firelink. Gotcha. Honestly, Scanty, that's probably the best for the best. Actually, let's check something. What is my role? Because I'll be honest, I'd rather not have to dodge roll or stuff and just tank everything if I can for this boss, especially considering it's a new game. Yeah, it's still going to be heavy. See, I just need to have my stamina recovery and be like, okay, and then heal. Gotcha. We shall do that. We have loads of faith in you, Loki. However, I was here for the Ornstein and Smo stream. Hey, I beat that boss! Eventually. 4 games seem to have dark sign craters in their chest. Do you think they were hollow themselves? Not necessarily hollow, because again, the reason why you have hollow, the reason why you have roots growing out of you as a hollow is because that is where your heart is, which is where your dark soul is largely located. Because the soul, again, much like how blood is a medium of the soul, obviously the heart is a huge area where a concentration of the soul would be. So again, that's the logic there, right? Again, goes into the idea of you being a hollow and quote-unquote losing heart, right? It refers to the metaphorical heart, but obviously you can sort of apply it into the general idea that your heart/your mind, of course, is in your heart and your brain. So that's where the soul is largely concentrated, and therefore, as it circulates through the body and, you know, gives that disparity energy that makes it not stone, but, you know, flesh and blood and all that stuff. All of that is sort of plays out. So again, I think it's just the fact of they are very steeped in the power of the dark, and as we can see, it's not just transformed from their hearts, it's transformed their entire bodies. So that seems to be just the general idea there. You could argue if that makes them hollow, because, well, the hollow form itself is the spoilers, the true form of man. Also, the knight should be +5, but Titanite costs a lot, I guess. Yeah, that's true. I should like just buy Titanite and like upgrade with a giant blacksmith or whatever, but oh well, we'll try without it. I think we can do it on New Game Plus with my current setup. I just need to poise through everything. Hopefully stone armor will be enough. If not, we'll go full Havel. Well, that's gonna kill me. Everything's pretty unnatural with them at this point. Very true. Their left arm becomes lionfish fins. Yeah, they basically, again, as you can see, like, everything about their body's been warped around their heart area. So, again, instead of, like, roots, quote-unquote, being growing there, like we see, it seems just to be that their entire body's become essentially a tree. Like, if you actually look closely, it has a very, tree-like texture to it. So they're basically becoming this, they've become the roots, as it were. They've become the tree. Return to Arbor. So is this the Abyss part of the Abyss, or is it the Abyss? Yeah, that is the sort of the void of the Abyss that takes form here, right? Obviously, the Abyss can take multiple forms. We see Abysses with just, like, say, Abyssal Swamp type of deal, say Ring City or Ulasil DLC, or we see it, like, in Four Kings and with, like, just a dark, like, again, localization calls it a void, but they just call it the dark. So it's like, again, like a dark void, though, of New Londo and Kaathe and stuff like that. Well, Wolnir, I should say specifically. So again, the Abyss takes many a form. Well, quickly in a farm to kill the Phalanx, other Royal Sentinels, and Silver Knights too. Oh, Phalanx drop Twinkling, do they? Interesting. But do I want to farm? I guess we'll see. How badly will I lose? Why did you freak? I hate having roll on my jump. Listen, I know I'm slow. Let me move. Go away. Go away, ghosties. I'm pretty sure it's safe to jump from here, but... you know what? I'm not going to risk it, because I might drop and hit something, and then that'll do damage, and then I wasted that Estus. If I recall correctly, only the clams drop Twinkling Titanite. Yeah, I recall them dropping it. I don't know if they're the only ones, but I definitely recall them dropping it. Or in the Silver Knights, too. Oh, Silver Knights have it, too. Again, we'll see. Boss? There we go. He's come out of the abyss! No, he's grabbing me, and he's now doing life drain and sucking out my non-existent humanity. Oh no! Whatever will I do? Oh my god. I'm gonna have to dodge roll that, though, because this takes up way too much time. Yeah, look at that. Other one showed up. Ugh. Okay. Yeah, okay, don't care. There we go. Hey, buddy. Here. There we go. Alright, halfway done. Just poise through them. Again, as we can see, like Night Scout was saying, you can kind of see how their heart area has been completely consumed. A little black void with lots of very ugly, nasty growths, almost like a tree fin type of thing growing out of them. You can still see some remnants of their original humanity. Well, the other kind of humanity. With their crowns, more like horns though now, in their faces. For the most part, they have become fully consumed by the abyss and have transformed themselves. There we go. There we go. And defeated! Come on, give me it. Bequeathed Lord Soul, yeah! Souls, my greed has been satiated. You happy, Kaathe? I'm a true man. Now we get this spawning down here. Now these bonfires, they will spawn into whatever boss room we have for this in order to let us warp out, because, well, obviously we're not getting out of here any normal gameplay way. Back to my normal armor. I'm a penitent thief. I will stick to that. Black leather. Dark Souls 1 poise, baby! Lucky strat, wear right gear and bring a knife. The four kings and dark race can only drain one liquid humanity at a time. Do you think they weakened and lost their covenant, so to speak, or is it pure mercy not lose 5 to 10 humanity per grab? I think the latter, Night Scout. I think a lot of those type of details are sort of again, much like other stuff that's like gameplay, not lore, is just sort of like, hey, we don't want to like be that cruel to the player. We're already taking their humanity, right? I mean, they don't want to do Demon Souls level of we're robbing your level, right? They don't want to do that, so. Great work, thanks, Arberg. They're like stone fixed with fish. That's one way to put it. They told me to get good, but I just got all the poise. Hey, Orc, you know. Fun fact. The Four Kings were supposed to have poise, but they didn't have an animation for poise breaking, so it's not there. Well, that's an interesting fact, isn't it? Again, more decks to make our Priscilla dagger more worthwhile. Ah, we're so close. Let's pop some souls. Give me a second, Kaathe. You just hang out there. We'll talk more about Sif Soul next stream with Artorias and stuff, especially when we get to the DLC. So I think I'm gonna keep this soul. Okay, this should definitely be enough, right? Yeah, pretty sure this should cover it. No, it's 46. Okay. All right, one soul of Proud Knight, please. Should have popped this off first. There we go. Now it's equal. Nice. Yes. And I have 2 daggers I can use depending on the situation. Yes. Woo! 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 Spinny spin spin. I can see why the Painting Guardians really liked fighting like that with in emulation of Priscilla. Hey, Kaathe. What if I want to just leave? No? Okay. So, spooky, scary, dark void abyss. It's not gonna hurt me anymore. I'm all good. Get rid of you. Hey, buddy.
Greetings, undead warrior. I am the primordial
So again, he's another world serpent.
Darkstalker Kaathe. I can guide thee and illuminate the truth.
So he basically describes
The
some.
truth I shall share.
Oh, now you're just
without
gonna.
sentence.
Okay, just gonna get to it.
After the advent of fire, the ancient lords found the 3 souls, but your progenitor found a 4th, unique soul, the dark soul. Your ancestor claimed the dark souls and waited for fire to subside. Soon, the flames did fade, and only dark remained. Thus began the Age of Men, the Age of Dark. However, Lord Gwyn trembled at the dark, clinging to his Age of Fire and in dire fear of humans, and the Dark Lord who would one day be born amongst them. Lord Gwyn resisted the course of nature by sacrificing himself to link the fire and commanding his children to shepherd the humans. Gwyn has blurred your past to prevent the birth of the Dark Lord. I am the primordial serpent. I seek to right the wrongs of the past, to discover our true Lord. But the other serpent, Frapt, lost his sense and befriended Lord Gwyn. Undead warrior, we stand at a crossroads. Only I know the truth about your fate. You must destroy the fading Lord Gwyn, who has coddled fire and resisted nature, and become the 4th Lord, so that you may usher in an age of dark.
What is your decision? Oh boy, there is so much to talk about here. For now, we'll say yes.
Very well.
There's so much to talk about with the localization here. Oh no.
To Gwyn's prison.
You mean grave, but okay.
Be still, and trust thine flesh to me.
What do you mean? Oh, wait, no, wait, what are you gonna do? No, 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 no! Please! Ah, it smells awful! Disgusting. There we go.
This is Gwyn's prison.
Yes, yes, this is
Now, place the Lord vessel
his
upon the
grave.
altar
We will in a sec. Okay. There's a lot to talk about when it came to Kaathe there. That's, there's so much, wrong with what Kaathe just said, considering at what a monumental moment this is supposed to be. Yeah. But let me read the comments first, so see if you guys have any questions relate to that. You can't break their poise, but poise breaks them. Kaathe is like, what is this guy doing just spitting with a knife? Listening, clearly. The four kings share a number of visual elements with the color, animation, facial like the jagged, ragged, blah, blah, blah. With all this dex and strength, you should get the gold tracer from Kjaran later and fully upgraded it. It's one of the best weapons for that. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I'll look at when I get there. I'll look at it. This is actually really neat having a with a dagger build. It's like just I don't know. It's very strange because I tend to like when I don't do many like repeated playthroughs and stuff, but when I do, I usually like go the same build because I like it. So like I always go like Pyromancer, Tarkus armor, either Tarkus shield or the blue crest shield from our Stora, and then Black Knight's great sword, whatever it's called in this game. But same thing, so very neat. Is it possible Frampt and Kaathe are the same character, but just playing for time? No. The undead isn't willing to choose the dark, then let's just send them off to the place that will get them killed. No, they're definitely different people and characters, right? The point of the Age of Dark ending is that both Frampt and Kaathe are present in. They're one of the two. They're both serpents are present in that room with the room full of serpents. Sort of the idea is that hey, both of them have come together because again, when Frampt loses, like because again, Frampt is Gwyn's quote unquote friend, so he wants to help Gwyn on this thing despite it going against everything the rest of his kind have been working toward all this time. And as a result, he doesn't really necessarily have a huge, deep investment in the Age of Fire itself. He just, he's good friends with Gwyn. So when Gwyn's plans fall through, despite Frampt and Gwendolyn and everyone's quote-unquote best efforts, like, what's he gonna do? He's like, well, I guess I better be on the winning side. So yeah. Tells you a lot about Frampt as a character. Always hate this theory. I haven't done any reading, just thought about it when I saw the same models. Very true. Do you think Gwyn feared a new lord in part because he thought they'd be like him and destroy the world that came before? Gwyn just feared losing his power. Like I said, he feared the dark. He feared what would come. Because again, when it's no longer the Age of Fire, it's no longer his age with the sunlight affinity and everything. Again, everything was tied to the soul that he owned. So he would lose all of that. Because again, the dark soul, again, that's sort of the idea of the dark soul being, again, the lucky soul, right? It's why humans have luck. Is that the dark soul is the one that's ultimately going to win out in the grander cosmological scale of things. It doesn't feel that way, obviously, because everything's working against it, but the idea is that humans are basically arranged in the way the universe has been set up, since the pygmy found the Lord Soul and spread it among his kind, to make it so that way humans are going to be the fortunate ones in the end. Where do the serpents live? That's a pretty good question. Where do they live when they're not busy talking our ears off? Anyway, let's now talk about this. So, Kaathe introduced himself as a primordial serpent, or a world serpent, as we've talked about in the past. The idea being is that it isn't necessarily trying to focus on the idea that they're ancient. It's, again, referencing Jormungand and the whole, Thor, Jormungand dynamic going on between Gwyn and Kaathe and yada, yada, yada. But the idea of a world serpent is, of course, they're cosmopolitan. They're not concerned with necessarily a single country or people or anything like that. Their concern is the world. And as Kaathe says, again, in the Japanese dialogue, he basically defines what he means when he says, I'm a world serpent Kaathe. The idea being is that I am one who tries to guide the world to its proper age, right? With its proper king and all that. And the point is that he then is like, okay, well, I'm going to now, like, just spill the deets on you. So, each of the Lord find their souls, but there was a fourth soul that the pygmy found, the dark soul. And that these souls, with the dark soul, of course, was the idea that it was the soul that was going to let you reign supreme. Now, Miyazaki clarifies outside, though you can infer from it here, is that the pygmy isn't obviously the only quote-unquote pygmy. Obviously, Dark Souls 3 confirms this. There's the whole race of the pygmies and all that. But there's the idea, essentially, that the dark of the pygmy split up the dark soul into creating humanity, the individual fragments of the dark soul, and that therefore these little fragments split among humankind is therefore becomes man's essences, which that they're building up their souls and newborns and all that and yada yada yada, right? And it gives them, of course, no, actually I'm getting a little ahead of myself there, but the point is that the dark soul is sort of the soul that's going to ultimately win out, because as the pygmy realizes by biding his time, the localization puts it as like, and soon the flames did fade and only the dark remained. No, that's not what Kaathe is saying at all. What he's saying is he's trying to get you into the pygmy's head. So what he's saying is, but eventually he gives you the maxim. Eventually, again, harkening back to the cinematic. Eventually, fire fades, it goes out, it disappears, whatever you want to term it, and only the dark remains. So the point is, in that case, it would be an age of men, of dark. So what Kaathe is saying here is that the pygmy had this plan. The plan was, okay, I've got this dark soul. When this fire, by its nature, is going to go away, it can't last forever. Dark, however, is the opposite. It can. It is eternal, immortal, right? That's the idea of the undead, as we see. Undead gain immortality. They gain eternity. They can outlast the very gods. Now, we see how all these races have these long lifespans. Wolves, cats, medials, giants. All these various races. The pygmies were able to beat them all out. Humankind could live forever and ever going into the future, similar to the archdragons, right? If they didn't get killed or anything like that, they would be fine forever. All of that is to say, then, that when the Age of Dark happens, it will be an eternal age of men ruling and being the dominant power. The Age of Fire and the gods who have currently sort of lorded over this age is essentially bet on the wrong horse. It's temporary, the way things are going. Even though Gwyn would like to try to make it an age eternal himself. The Kaathe is then saying, okay, this was the plan that the pygmy had. But Gwyn, now, you hear the localization say Lord Gwyn several times in here. Kaathe doesn't actually address him as, like, Lord Gwyn. Like, he doesn't use it in a tight titular sense. Sometimes he will occasionally use the title, like, the King, or, again, the Lord Gwyn that he's talking about, sort of in, like, the abstract of, hey, this is, like, like, technically his job title. But he never affords him the decency of saying, oh, he is Lord Gwyn, right? He's not honoring him with that honorific. Like he does in the localization. So again, it's very much a contrast from everyone else we meet, who everyone refers to Gwyn as like the great king, the great king, the great king, the great king, and Kaathe's just like, oh yeah, he's the king, and you know, I'm not even gonna refer to him by that title or by any like special honorific. Otherwise, like you just don't need to precede it anyway. Does he call himself a dark stalker in the JP2? It's more like a dark caresser. Like, you know, he kind of like, I guess you can see why they changed it in localization, but the idea that he's, in the dark and around it, right? So the idea is like, he hides and lurks in the abyss, basically, right? So he's like up there, under the covers of the dark of the abyss there in New Londo. Does that title get shared with the Dark Souls 2 enemy in No Man's Wharf? No. Actually, I don't remember what the JP name for that enemy is. I'm gonna have to get back to that one on Night Scout. I'm gonna have to look that up because I can't remember off the top of my head what the official name for that enemy is. Actually, I have the book. 1 second. It's gonna take me too long to flip through the pages, so I'll just get back to you guys, you on that later. But I don't recall it being the same term, if that's what you're thinking. Like I said, it's definitely not the same as Kaathe's title, quote unquote. And the idea of if I recall correctly, the Darkstalker, you're referring to the. Oh, I know what it's called officially in Japanese. It's called Darkness Hollow. That's what it is, right? Okay. I think that's the enemy you're talking about. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a hollow who has been steeped in the dark for so long that that hollow's been twisted and warped by the dark into that. We see something similar with like the quote-unquote lizard men in the Shrine of Amana in Dark Souls 2 and stuff. So sort of the idea of environment twisting environment and of course feelings and emotions. Again, always the idea of curses and souls and the power and all blah 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 disparity. Okay. Yeah, but would he lose his soul too, or just his propaganda? Would his soul disappear? Probably not, but its power seems to be the idea of getting weaker, because we have the idea, again, that the power of fire is weakening, so this is going back to the idea that Kaathe is telling us here. Well, first off.
What is it?
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway. The point Kaathe is trying to make is, okay, so the pygmy had this plan. Okay, I have this dark soul, I'm splitting it among my kind, right? And that makes me the ancestor of all mankind, right? Because it's sort of ancestor in the spiritual sense, in the most literal case. As again, Miyazaki clarifies in outside interviews, but you can kind of infer this with how the idea of when figuring out what humanity really is. it's a fragment of the Dark Soul itself, and therefore this is where the connection, because again, regardless of whether or not genetics exist in this universe in the way that they exist in our world, the idea is that everything has to tie back to the soul, everything that has to deal with flesh and blood and life and all that stuff. So the idea is that, yeah, the soul is the essence, our DNA, as it were, and the pygmy shared that DNA with all of his race, and allowed essentially all of his descendants of all mankind since then to also share in that. But Gwyn was like, oh, I don't like this. This dark is bad. This dark is real bad. Okay, well, I want to use the power of these pygmies to help me in the dragon hunts, right? Because I could use all the help I can get. I'm building alliances with Nito, with Izalith, with everybody. Huh. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and obviously Dark Souls 3 clarifies that he even gives a whole city to help prop up their civilization. But there is this implication in this game that, okay, there's a bit of a work cooperation going towards these two, but they both got their schemes behind their backs, right? And Gwyn is the one who seems to have ultimately won out in that exchange, in the short term at least. Gwyn essentially, quote-unquote, shackles the humans, right? The idea is that, the idea of he put the shackles of the gods upon us. And these shackles, as we learn, is essentially... Actually, I think Kaathe talks about this in a separate dialogue. I'm not sure if he talks about it in this one. Maybe misremembering, but the point is that he puts the shackles of the gods on us, and that turns out to be, of course, the dark sign, the ring of fire that surrounds us. Because again, if it's called the dark sign, then what is the point of a ring of fire? Again, rings we've seen associated with the holy light rings, associated with the gods and Londo and Lloyd, etc., and doing so. So the idea is that, okay, that's a seal which is used to contain the dark, and it everything that has occurred with humans because of that are regular shorter lifespans than even most races in there, right? Like we eke out a living, barely live for maybe 100 years if we're lucky, and then we die, and then we go on like Logan or Brendel or some various other characters and things like that. And then we kind of maybe again, because the power of the Age of the Fire itself is weakening, the Ring of Fire, which the gods use in order to seal away our power, has been weakening, and therefore we now start seeing undeath on the rise. Dark as in Dark Soul or normal dark? Yes. The Dark Soul has several names depending on the game. They refer to it by different kanji and stuff, but the general idea is like, yeah, different kinds of dark in some sense or another. Because if the dark turned a hollow human into that, if the dark turned a hollow human into that thing, man, it's not staying at just basic hollow. Again, the idea is that it's steeped in just the darkness of the area for too long. Now, you can argue what that means for the Age of Dark, but, you know, that's a separate discussion. Does Dark Souls 1 even imply that the Pygmies helped in the Dragon War? Yes, it's stated in the opening cinematic when it lists off all the numbers, and then it uses the term they to indicate the entire group of 4 was involved. And then Dark Souls 3, of course, reaffirms this with the idea of the Ring City and the Pygmies, right? So the idea is that all the lords took part. I got the impression that they were uninvolved and basically primitive in the wilderness while everyone else was thriving and godly. You're right, but again, as Dark Souls 3, of course, clarifies the timeline on this with the idea, oh yeah, we literally propped you up by giving you an entire city to build your civilization. But yeah, the idea is that all of them are together working, we're all together involved in the dragon hunts together. But the Pygmy, of course, no one knows about the Pygmy, because he and all the Ring City Knights and everything, they were scrubbed from history. Anyway, the point that Frampt is essentially making is that Gwyn, essentially, for his fear, essentially tried to resist the course of nature. This means the logic of the world, logic referring to like a universal principle. So the idea is that, okay, this is just how the world works, again, sort of the natural order of things. And that by trying to resist this logic, we see, of course, the idea of linking he linked the fire in order to prolong the Age of Fire and prevent the Age of Dark from appearing, right? So the Pygmy had this plan. Okay, we'll wait until the fire fades. When the fire fades, then the Age of Dark will begin, and then it will be our turn to shine, and we'll be the one. So, like, again, I'm gonna sort of, we're gonna be, like, sort of, like, amicable with the gods and sort of cooperating in this regard for now, but, like, you know, we'll get our revenge back on them when this is all over. Now, of course, as we can see, Gwyn was, the Pygmy doesn't seem to have foreseen just how bad Gwyn would slowly emasculate the dark from everybody. But the point is that the end result is that, oh, okay, until the time of undeath, the dark seems to have been more or less ameliorated, and then when undeath shows up again, Gwyn ultimately links the fire. Now, Kaathe wants us to now take up the mantle of becoming the Lord, the King of the Dark Lord, and herald the Age of Dark that he wanted so badly. And so, well, we apparently agreed, so let's do that. This shall be where we end things, so... No, Night Scout, that's not how Japanese works. It's the list of all 4 of them doing so, and the they has to refer to the entire group that's being listed in the previous thing. Again, just trust me when I say this. It's all 4. And Dark Souls 3 Ring City reaffirms this. Alright, the barriers are no more. The Lord Vessel has been placed, and the magic that was attached to it has allowed this to be fixed. We are, again, Kaathe calls it a prison, but it's more accurate to call it Gwyn's coffin, his grave. The idea being is that, again, that is where Gwyn laid himself to rest, as it were, in the truest sense. Not his grave in Anor Londo, which is more so a mausoleum representing him now that he's gone. Very sad, wouldn't you agree, Kaathe?
Very well. Once the vessel is filled with souls,
Yes.
the gate to Gwyn shall open. Seek Grave Lord Nito, the Witch of Izalith, and the traitor, Sif the Scaleless. Fill this vessel with their souls. Then the gate will open, so that you may kill Gwyn. Are you ready? Then let us return.
I like how he pauses like, okay, are we done?
Trust thine flesh to me.
He's just mad at my spinning. No, 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 please! Please, no! No! Help me, guys! Help me! What's going on? Help me! I don't like it. It smells. It's something. Finally. God, your breath reeks. So can you talk to Frampton Firelink after doing this, or is he just no longer in the game? I think he's still here, and he'll get mad, and he'll be like, I'm pissing off now. Okay, but I thought the pygmy being so furry easily forgotten was to highlight that he found a soul, but was excluded otherwise. No. So what he says is, much like how the Daughters of Chaos is being applied retroactively, even though they weren't the Daughters of Chaos at that point yet, the idea with the pygmy is like, okay, you got Gwyn and his knights, you got Nito the Grave King, or the Grave Lord, you got, Izalith and her daughters of the Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Again, then you have the pygmy of the shadows who no one knows about. The idea is that all of this is being applied retroactively to a present day term being applied to the past, and the idea is that they all 4 of them acquired the power of kings, because again it's trying to tell us how some animals found the souls of the Lord souls, the souls of kings in the flame, and then it lists off the names of different people, and then explains, okay, they acquired the power of kings and challenged the dragons, right, to battle, and all that. And then they talk about the battle, but the pygmy is excluded because, again, no one knows about it. That part of history has been scrubbed. So beyond that reference, it doesn't get brought up. And then, again, Dark Souls 3 Ring City sort of elaborates on this by telling us, okay, it wasn't like the pygmy did it by himself or anything like that, right? Like, the pygmy had a kingdom of knights and things that could assist and were also taking part, so it wasn't just them by themselves. And they took part in the Archdragon hunts and all that jazz. Does Kaathe call Sif a traitor in the JP text here, too? Yes. So Frampt refers to Sif as a confidant or ally, and I can't remember. Actually, maybe he refers it to ally proper too. I have to check the localization for that one. But and Kaathe refers to him as a traitor or betrayer, or however you want to put it. But yeah, same thing. I love how, despite obviously being the same VA, Kaathe and Frampt sound so different. Yeah, very, very, very great acting by the same person who did Strayed in Dark Souls 2. Well, I mean, we actually see the Daughters of Chaos in the war. We see 0 humans, and they don't have a country. Well, of course, because that's the point of Night Scout. They try to not highlight their contribution in the conflict because they don't want to put it up front and center. That's sort of the idea. Again, Dark Souls, it took until literally the last DLC for the last game to actually kind of discuss and address this of their contribution to the hunt. Let's see. We actually see the Daughters of Chaos, yeah, but yes, we do see them in the conflict, right? Kaathe mentions of Sif being a traitor implies a bitterness over what happened to the dragons. Do you feel that? Not Not necessarily. More so that, like, yeah, there might be some bitterness there if you compare, but the idea is that Frampt is always framing things from the perspective of Gwyn, right? Because he's a big Gwyn stan. So, his whole thing is like, oh, you know, this was Gwyn's former ally, right? So that's how. So he still acknowledges that he kind of just like focuses on how's the good thing about Seath. Frampt doesn't. Kaathe doesn't have that same predisposition, right? He doesn't care for Gwyn. He doesn't care for who's been friends with Gwyn, who was good to Gwyn, and all that at one point or another. He's just like, oh, okay. And keep in mind, Frampt does treat Seath stuff more negatively compared to much like Smo and things like that in Ornstein. So like, it's not like he has this deep, fascinating, too much love for Seath and Seath stuff. So. It's just that, again, it's the focus on, it's the framing of Frampt's mindset, I think, more than Kaathe. Kathe's just like, oh yeah, he's the traitor to the dragons. The narrative seemed more neutral to me, in my opinion. Otherwise, you probably not get Gwyn and company being said as coming from the dark towards the soul. It's not just about Kaathe and it's about all of them again, because the idea of some quote-unquote animals, being captivated by the flame and finding the Lord Souls nearby, and then it lists off the group and it acknowledges all 4 of them, then they acquire the power and shouts. Again, Night Scout, I can't explain this to you better. It's just how the language works. That's just how it is. Like, you're not able to weasel your way around this one. I can't help it there. Anyway, but we're gonna end things there, guys. It's great having all the chat and conversation and everything that goes along with it. Again, I'm so happy we got to this point. We finally got to meeting actual Kaathe. We'll join the Covenant for the Dark Wraiths and talk more about them then. And then we will probably do, like, at least the beginning parts of Seath first. Maybe not get it captured, but we'll probably, like, get the DLC items so we can do the DLC. And then maybe, like, do Nito or... Actually, we may do Izalith first. I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get to it. Anyway... Thanks so much, guys. I really loved having you guys here. You guys have had some great questions, great commentary. You've really helped me have to actually use my brain on these lore plays and stuff, so I can actually engage with you guys as a community. It just, again, feels so weird saying that, but it's true. You guys have really made this even more rewarding experience, more than just like book promotion and all that. So thank you so much. Anyway, so we're gonna just end things here. So thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.